until they would die of exhaustion.
By the way, we're live.
Oh, we're live. No one's going to know what the hell we were talking about before, but it's almost by design, and that's when they made me their chief. That's the word.
That was the second time I got crabs.
That's why you always have to bring your towel along. So welcome on in, everyone. Hello, lads, lasses, and MB badasses. This is the second Sunday of the month of July. So it's our Patreon hangout. And so here on the Alchemy, of course, it's me, Summer and Geek, John Breckman, the host, and also our Patreon and friends, Ellie. Say hello, Ellie.
Hi.
And Joe McClory. Say hello, Joe.
Hello, Joe.
I believe it's pronounced yo.
Only if David's here, and so yes, and so if you're a patron for the show, like our friend, our Sakai teacher Tim has just joined us, and you go to the Patreon page, and there should be a link to be able to join us, and we should have a bunch of good fun to chat about whatever the hell comes to our mind, because I hope that people have things to chat about, because I didn't prepare anything.
I do have something to chat about. For a while there, I thought I would not be able to chat because my downstairs neighbors just got a dog that has severe separation anxiety and has been crying since 6 o'clock this morning.
Oh no.
The only reason it stopped is because it's fucking exhausted now. It still occasionally cries. Point is, I didn't sleep well.
Oh no.
Same dog. Same.
Mm-hmm. But I am well rested enough to talk about this. A study was published by a group out of Brazil about morality and differences in moral behavior between allistic and autistic folks.
Hello.
Hello,
Hey, Isaiah.
Hello, my cop-hating, American-hating communist friend.
I am a cop hater, yes, and I'm anti-American, yes, and I'm.
I don't hate cops. I hate policing as an institution and cops.
That's fair.
There's a difference.
I don't hate the cops. I hate the bullshit they buy into to become cops.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I mean, before this building fell down in Florida, we had this Ron DeSantis was passing all these stupid laws, and a lot of reasons why some people become lawyers, because he was a lawyer in the Navy, is because he just wanted to wave a mallet around and tell people what to do. So, because he sits in his palatial mansion with his trophy wife and their kid, and he writes these stupid laws because I want to be that, I want to be some mean girl who bitches about pizza in the cafeteria. So yeah.
And remember to wear pink on Wednesday.
Right. Yeah. Did you guys watch the story about Richard Branson?
Not yet. But John Brockman was in the middle of something of a study that he found. So
this will take a little while. So
okay.
What's this about Branson? Did he die horribly?
No, he actually managed to survive. It went a lot better than the last version Galactic flight did.
So he successfully launched into space essentially, and unfortunately came back to us.
That's
too
bad.
We can only hope for Jeff Bezos. Maybe he's worse than Branson. I don't know.
No, they're both billionaires. It'd be good for both of them to die in a fire.
When we said we wanted billionaires to leave the world, we didn't mean to come back.
Exactly.
Well, we would like to eat them, so they do have to be around for that.
No, I'd rather eat pizza.
Well, we don't want to eat them. We just have to. It's sort of like leftovers in the fridge. They're not bad yet.
Well, okay.
Do we want to eat the billionaires or all the rich, though?
That's a good point.
I'm just wondering, can we eat the
Oprah
millionaires
first?
too, or is it is there a cap somewhere that we stop?
Definitely billionaires for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Until we get to thousandaires.
Well, I mean, I'm a thousandaire, so I mean,
yeah, I'm a 10,000.
Oh, okay. I hope so,
of
because
dollars.
you might be a houseless person if you're not a thousandaire, probably. But
I was saying,
yeah.
we're all thousandaires. We just have to spend it on rent and food and all that shit. So,
You see, I'm the thousandaire in the opposite direction in debt.
then we become
So we
hundred
eat your
heirs.
last.
All right. So the study out of Brazil about autistic and allistic folks and differences in moral behavior. The title, I put a link in the whatchamacallit, is Right Temporal Parietal Junction Underlies Avoidance of Moral Transgression in Autism Spectrum Disorder.
In English?
The right temporoparietal junction is a portion of the brain that apparently lights up differently when we're making moral decisions or not, and allistic and autistic folks that lights up differently when we're doing that stuff. So they hooked up people to an fMRI and asked them to do moral evaluations. The fMRI part is less interesting than the rest of it, because the way they did it was they offered, it's a small study because fMRI is expensive and difficult. 20 autistic folks, 28 allistic folks. And they gave you the choice. You can either donate money to a good charity, and then the study would donate more money to the charity. Or you could accept money. You would get financial gain, and then they would donate money to a bad charity. The good charity being an actual charity, Hope for Children, that does helps educate children in Brazil.
Bad charity being the Catholic Church, but I'm ashamed.
No, the bad charity is No Cats, No Dogs, a group that exterminates stray dogs and cats.
John Brockman, did you put the link into the live chat or just the group chat?
Into the doodly-doo, the down below. It's already in the description of the video.
Dogs and cats.
Okay, yeah, there it is. I see it. Study of autistic morality. And the 255 ID, to answer your question, I'm neurodivergent for sure, as I am ADHD. I have not been tested to be if I'm on the autism spectrum disorder or to have ADHD. The ADHD much more likely. So, like, as far as I'm neurodivergent, but I'm not autistic. As it is autistic.
I'm both.
John Brockman is both. Anyone else? Anyone else is neurodivergent on spectrum?
I am, because I with my brain injury that I was born with, it's kind of like I have ADHD. Also.
Yeah, I want to add something to that because you said like people with autism and moral justice. There's a vast amount of people that I've known who have autism tend to skew leftward. There are a few exceptions. So I think we have like a more moral sense of justice because I think we think more critically. For most of us, we don't let religion.
Well, it's not necessarily just about the thinking critically. Autistic folk in general do have a very strong sense of justice, a very strong sense of right and wrong, and we tend to be very strict in our adherence to that. And that's one of the things this study demonstrates.
So yeah, because in Florida, there's this woman who is our first autistic female lawyer. There's a woman who has autism who is an attorney. So that's pretty amazing.
That's cool.
So the way the study was set up, in order to put real stakes to it, you would either donate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 British Real, and then they would donate either 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, or 32 British Real. Or you would get 1 through 8, and they would donate 4 to 32. So by putting money to it, they can actually, put different measures on it. And the amounts are small enough that people won't be deterred too much by their genuine finances, but the amounts are large enough that people will have some sense of weight to it. They also wanted people to evaluate all these possibilities. So donate 1, they donate 4, donate 1, they donate 32, accept 1, they donate 4, accept 1, they donate 32. And so to keep it independent, they said you would only be down for 1. You wouldn't be dinged for every single choice you made. It wouldn't stack. So all the choices you make, 128 in total, they would just choose 1 at random. If you said yes, then you either donate or receive that amount. If you said no, then no money changes hands at all. So, like I said, 128 different things. And they explicitly call them moral or immoral. Moral because you're giving money to a good charity. Immoral because you're taking money. And they're donating money to the bad charity. They also added the thing where you would do this twice, which sounds fucking exhausting. One time it's anonymous. The other time somebody is aware of the choices you've made. So they're adding social pressure. So that gives us, 4 different situations. Autistic versus allistic, observed versus unobserved. 3 of those boxes are identical. One of them is different. Can anyone guess which one was different?
Anonymous, all listed.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly right. The neurotypical folks, when they weren't being observed, tended to be far more immoral. Autistic folk were invariant. We were strict in our morals regardless. And allistic folk looked like autistic folk when they knew they were being watched.
Well, the thing about autistic morals is that we actually care about people. We don't care about ourselves and profits all the damn time.
Like I said, they demonstrate that we tend to have very strict moral codes and we tend to adhere to them pretty strongly. So this, if you know autistic folks, hello, this isn't a particularly surprising result. It's interesting. It confirms a lot of stuff, and maybe the fMRI stuff was interesting. I don't know. I'm not qualified to judge the fMRI stuff. So they put this got through peer review. They put it up for pre-publication late last year, and immediately they got a hell of a lot of incredibly harsh criticism and pushback from the autistic community because their framing was absolute shit. Okay. Like when they're talking, that's it. Go ahead.
No, I said I did have a pastor when I used to go to college here in Tallahassee. We had a pastor who said being autistic was a curse from God because of the first sin. God. So ever since then, I've always hated God and religion. But I am starting to find people who are religious and autistic, and their autism is a gift from God, quote unquote. So I don't know.
You can interpret it in different ways.
People can make up any sort of bullshit when it comes to religion.
One of the things I remember from grad school the most, talking to my supervisor on my thesis, was she was always complaining about how, and even though this is political science, not neuroscience, she said like a big problem was the level of writing is a problem because often they don't know how to express it in a to get their point across. Like a less like sterile, clinical, without making it sound like completely abhorrent. I guess that's what happened in this case.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the way they talked about it was they had autistic patients and healthy controls. Right off the jump, that's all. We're not a fucking disease. To be compared to healthy people. That was one of the things they changed, and they stopped calling us autistic patients, but they kept the term healthy controls in there. They also are relying upon now a 35-year-old framing of the autistic mentation thoughts, how we work with things, developed by researcher Simon Baron Cohen in 1985. Before you make the joke, yes, he is related to Sacha Baron Cohen. They're cousins.
Oh, okay. I was like, okay, that's just a coincidence, but like that's pretty funny.
I was going to roll my die to figure out if that was the.
Are they like a close relation, or are they kind of?
I don't know how close they are. I just know that they're some sort of cousins. But I mean, probably close enough if they have almost the same name.
Yeah.
But he said, as they say here, autism spectrum disorder is characterized by a core difference in theory of mind ability, which extends to alterations in moral judgment and decision making. Essentially, the model is that autistic folk don't have a theory of mind that makes us less empathetic and thus more rigid in our calculations and so on, which kind of fuck your face. A lot of the time, the problem isn't lack of empathy, but excessive empathy, things like that.
Yeah. With people with autism, they have repetitive schedule. So I don't really see why they would be much of a problem if you just want obedient workers all day. But
Yeah. Yes, we do really want to adhere to a strict schedule, and we have problems with flexibility in that way. Now,
I have actually seen more neurotypical people be really unempathetic towards people with autism. I saw that a lot at one of the schools that I went to, that one of the teachers she got into fights with the autistic students all the time because she didn't bother to read his body language. at all, and it was so clear that he was not comfortable in that situation.
Yeah.
We actually had to tell her to stop sometimes.
When I was at here in Florida, when I was at a teens, I'm from Florida, everyone. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was done.
No, I was saying that when I was at a teen center, I had there was this black lady who was like really, really just awful to me because I didn't have any friends and because I watched History Channel. So
well,
You watch History Channel?
back in the
Oreo.
back in the day, I did.
Back when it was good, right? It wasn't just like crappy reality shows of like random
And alien shit.
obscure
Yeah.
professions like
Well, yeah, like
jade mining and stuff like that.
yeah, well, like
I see cat.
when they would have documentaries about the Mir space station, and she would say,
when there weren't documentaries that about Hitler, because like they
Aliens.
used to do Hitler all the time too.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah.
Well, boomers love World War II.
Yeah, they do.
Now, here's the thing.
Is
They
that
also
right,
got a
Tom?
lot of pushback for their framing of the results.
Is Tom even a boomer though? He's
He's
I'm-
mid-70s. I
you
think that makes you
I'm
boomerish.
you think I'm the greatest generation or silent generation?
yeah. Well, I
How
thought
old
like maybe
how
greatest
the-
generation. I thought anyway.
How the fuck old do you think I am?
Well,
Greatest
100
generation fought in World War II.
107.
100? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was definitely.
Okay, so
I had a problem with. I got sick in the 1918.
You got the rickets.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
the
why I
milk
wear a
leg.
mask all the time when I'm outside now. I got scared straight back then.
okay, so Tim,
All right, so the framing of the results.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So we, autistic folk, we remained moral whether we were being observed or not, and they framed that as autistic folk fail to take into account social reputation when making moral decisions.
Oh,
Would we call that a failure on our part that we remain moral even when nobody's watching?
it sounds like the failure
I guess
might be on the
another
other end.
perspective, I suppose.
Wait, so we're supposed to be immoral when we're not watching? What?
Yeah, basically they're saying that the expectation is we should be immoral when we're not being observed, and that it's
Because-
a failure among autistic people that we aren't.
Because they're going by normal human behavior norms and not what maybe how people should behave.
As opposed to what is actually best versus
Yeah, like the
society.
norm versus like
Yeah.
what we actually should do probably.
Okay,
Like-
so there's an essay that like my friend Tavi the Wolfus like found, or someone else like that found, and about the word normal. But because just do a Google search on the word normal, the origin of the word normal, it's just like it gets into eugenics quite quickly.
Yeah, if you're not just some boring plain ass, and then yeah, you're normal. But
So the thing about social reputation, they scrubbed that from the paper entirely because of the amount of pushback and call out they got on that. Not just from the autistic community, but from autistic researchers. They said, the fuck? So-
Were they on the part of this research? Autistic researchers were a part of this sort of thing?
You have to ask? This is clearly the case of talking about and not talking to, right?
Okay, people, remember sodium uwu, or nothing about us without us.
Yeah.
true.
The other thing...
and also platform more minorities with it too.
Yep. And they also said that autistic people show undue concern for ill-gotten gains and the moral cost of transgressive behavior. Which, again, undue? They're putting an awful lot of negative weighting on the thing. I mean, we're saying that it's immoral, we shouldn't do it. That's undue consideration because, we can make a profit, therefore it's okay to kill dogs and cats. But they did soften that language too. That ASD, autism spectrum disorder individuals, instead
these
of
are moderate
autistic patients,
Republicans.
are more inflexible when following a moral rule, although an immoral action can benefit themselves, and experience an increased concern about ill-gotten gains and moral cost. So, I mean, they did tone the language down, but it still isn't great. So the next time some chud tries to tell you that science is all about balls and strikes and it's not a social construct, you can point them at this fucking paper. Because holy shit.
So it's about my facts and logic. It's just like, no, dude, there are human beings that are in charge of these like studies, and they can get things wrong. They have their own biases, which is why I'm sorry. I think it's like a science fiction dystopian to think let's just like build a supercomputer with an incredible AI and have them like run the world. It's like, no. I won't trust it. Well, I mean, there's no hierarchies, but still, no. Come on, humans are ships. Like, then why trust humans to build that supercomputer with AI?
Isn't that what Skipknot, the band Skipknot, once said? Humans are shit.
Slipknot?
Slipknot, yeah, that's what
They might have.
I don't know. I'm not familiar with Slipknot. Or Skipknot.
I am, but I like the song.
They did have a song that was called "People Equal Shit."
Right? Yeah.
You may also know them as Stone Sour too, maybe as well.
Well, Corey Taylor is also the lead singer of like this.
Yeah, I guess that's a connection because I was listening to like one of the Stone Sour song on the way home yesterday from a trip, and I said to my wife, "Oh yeah, like at least the lead singer is from Slipknot," and she didn't realize that. You know,
yeah, I really enjoy Stone Sour stuff. I like Through the Looking Glass, Bother are good songs.
That's one I was looking through the Looking Glass. Like that's like their best well-known song, I think. Is that
yeah,
one,
exactly. But I do also enjoy Slipknot's music as well. But I wasn't familiar with like that song where they basically like pretty much said that like people are shit. Which I'm not surprised Slipknot saying that song. They did had a whole album basically saying all hope is gone. So yeah. 25580 earlier in the chat while we're discussing the study as are differently able to be people in general like left leaning like regardless how your brain works and marginalizes people tend to be like left leaning.
There is something to that, but there are also like autistic folks. You can also see them falling libertarian, like I did in high school.
Yes.
Because, I mean,
or
that Ayn Randian thing, that black-white thinking would be very attractive to someone with a tendency toward rigid moral thinking.
I think Ellie wanted to say something.
No, I have just seen a lot of like disabled people, especially with acquired like brain injuries, who got a bit, I don't know what to call it, like nationalistic and not really caring about not caring about other minorities except for themselves. I've seen that a lot, and that is kind of not great.
I would say I have certainly met an autistic conservative woman who was Caucasian, because I think for a lot of people like on that, it's again that rigid thinking makes sense, and if they're indoctrinated in a household that tells them America's good because X, Y, and Z, and this is the only country where you could survive. But, like if they get filled with a bunch of like negative, like
white nonsense
stuff, basically
white noise.
No, white nonsense. Specific, I'm saying white supremacist nonsense.
Right. They can definitely become conservative and equate that with that. I've argued it with people who are autism who are conservative. I've argued this with them, and they definitely have that thinking.
I've met people that like who are disabled, but yet physically disabled, but push back against me when I say that like capitalism inherently ableist. Oh no, capitalism is great for all the adventures that we can get that will help disabled people, and yet it's kind of like. I think he was like privileged.
It took laws to require things like cutouts and ramps.
Yes, exactly. Hey,
Phoenix. And then, of course, you have people like Karen Kardashian.
Oh, yeah.
What's her name? Trans woman.
No, Caitlyn Jenner.
Caitlyn Jenner.
I was like, who?
I was like figuring so like who specifically you was talking about, but once you say trans, it's like Caitlyn Jenner. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the Kardashians to have known that wasn't actually
one of the Kardashians.
another person that I
there's
just didn't
Kim,
know about.
There's Kendall. There's.
I don't watch the show. I know of Kim, and then I know that like Caitlyn Jenner is their mother. Yes. or like in the
Yeah.
family, something like that. Because I don't keep up with the Kardashians. I don't. We were talking about like those like terrible like reality TV shows, which the History Channel is now full of, and stuff like that. No, hey, not to besmirch or anyone that like loves those kind of things and watches them religiously. Because I do have a friend that like loves that like the Weird
I will
Housewives
besmirch
of-
them. I'm autistic. You know how I feel about these things. I have very strong moral emotions about things that you don't consider that
Just
important.
a quick thing about Caitlyn Jenner.
Sure.
So she just married like the mother of the three sisters, like Kim and the other two. Their father has been dead for like almost 20 years now. He was like one of the lawyers for O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, the OJ trial.
Yeah, he had got like
And
some
that's
kind
why
of
she
cancer,
got
I think.
famous, because of the sex tape or something.
Yeah, that happened like several years after he died, unfortunately. But
I-
he didn't live to see all this stuff. But anyway,
Speaking of Kardashians, is it I get those two Kardashians or Kardashians?
Kardashian is the TV show, people.
Yes.
Kardashian is the Armenian immigrants.
Or the Kardashians that did the Bajoran, the Star Trek.
on Star Trek, yeah.
No, that's what I meant by the TV show. I forgot that they have their own TV show, the Kardashians.
But
One are the space Nazis and the other one are fictional characters.
They actually made up a racial slur for them, like in Deep Space Nine, basically, which I thought was kind of trying to add real world
they were
depth
called
to like the show.
spoonheads. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I was like, I guess you can say that, and it's not really it's just a fake thing, right? So it's not like like the real world ones. But I just thought that was kind of an interesting like layer that they threw in there, to show that like even though the evolved humans of the 21st century are still kind of like they're racist towards aliens and stuff like that.
I remember like when because I still work at the Challenger Learning Center, which is like the IMAX. Like you guys know the Challenger Learning Center, right? After the Challenger
Space Shuttle?
astronauts. Sorry?
The space shuttle, yeah, the crashed in '86, yeah.
Yeah, I know. And we have there's like learning centers to foster people's interest in the space based off of that. I remember when Kanye West's movie called I forgot what the hell it's called because it was so stupid, but it was like where he was like a Christian.
West made a movie?
It was like a Christian movie he made. I don't know.
Okay, Kanye West movie. I'm just gonna look that up and see what it is.
I had not heard of that at all. I mean, granted,
There's actually
I don't
a
care
great
about Kanye West, but
Netflix series about the Challenger that was I think made either like this year or last year.
Yeah, I saw some of it.
I have vague memories of the Challenger exploding.
Mm-hmm.
I was
how-
like 2 years old, so I didn't. Yeah,
I like
I
how we're
was
like
5
jumping around
years.
here.
86,
Yeah.
87?
We're talking about Kanye West, then we jumped on the Challenger explode. That's a good segue. How do you?
Depends on who you talk to. That's enough. Because the study of the study that John Braxton just shared was the only preparation that any of us did for this show. So how's everyone doing?
Oh,
my
you know,
neighbor's got
alright.
a dog.
yeah. I feel bad for that dog, man. I had
Oh,
puppies
so
like that
poor
had like
fat
had it
puppy.
bad too. The separation anxiety.
I'm doing good. I'm gonna after this. I'm gonna go pick up some groceries. I'm gonna come home and watch Air Force One. Then I'm gonna work on my short film that I'm making for film school.
Okay.
Oh, the movie.
Oh,
Air Force One, the movie. Yes, Air Force
Oh,
One.
the
Harrison Ford.
Air Ford one. Okay, I wasn't
Right.
sure if there's another one, but yeah.
Basically, the movie that has Han Solo and what's the guy's what's Oldman's character from Fifth Element?
I forgot
The
the
business
name
guy.
of the film, but it's Gary Oldman.
Yeah,
Ford,
Gary Oldman's,
Nord,
he's played so many memorable characters
Gord?
over his career. Like,
Is it
Yeah.
Zorg or Zod? It's something.
Zorg.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, his
All right,
character
I'll finally
from
look
like
it up.
The Professional is a highlight of his career, in my opinion, too.
That was a good role for him. Yes, I did
yeah.
like that Professional.
And he did the best Jim Gordon of all time in the Dark Knight trilogy. But
Mhm.
he was like that was one of the few times that he actually played a good guy. I mean, like
he's usually the asshole, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, see, yeah, he usually is. I heard he's the asshole in real life though, which is unfortunate because, like, but like Latrona said, if like you stop watching any movie that has like any asshole in the production or in the cast whatsoever, like
you wouldn't be allowed to leave the house.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I mean, she's crippled, so she's not allowed to leave the house anyway. She might.
There's a lot of really good actors who are like complete and other, scum in real life.
Well, yeah,
John Voight, duh, John.
Yeah,
Voight.
John. Well, there's some that are worse than others, but things like Gary Oldman.
Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood's terrible. Yeah, but I think it's like Gary Oldman did like a domestic abuse. That thing with that.
Okay.
Yeah, some domestic abuse from what I ever heard.
Same with Sean Penn.
Tom Cruise, Scientologist #1 uno person.
Hey, I talk at teacher. Have you seen any of my new videos on my channel? My YouTube channel that I have. I don't know if you're a subscriber.
I
don't think I've seen your recent ones.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm waiting for my baby to be born, so kind of busy these days.
Yeah. Okay.
So selfish of you. The fuck.
Sorry, I say I have not been watching your latest videos.
What are they about though? Just wondering, because we talking about it here now.
Isaiah, what are your videos about?
They're just about like disasters and true crime that I'm working on. I haven't been able to do much recently because I have like school, because I'm trying to finish film school, which I finished in September. So yeah, I have a lot planned for YouTube. Once I get a better job in Tampa and a bigger apartment to film stuff, I feel like I'm gonna that's something I'm gonna work on.
Yeah, for me, it's just there's a lot of videos I need to re-upload to my channel, but I'm just lazy. I'm just terribly lazy. It's easier for me to stream than it is to just
and congratulations to having a baby too. I can't wait till I become a father, whenever that's gonna be.
Congratulations on filling your evolutionary imperative.
We need to raise more autistic people, make the world better.
We need to increase the moral fiber of the human race.
Right. So when we do meet Vulcans in like 40 years, we can.
Yeah. Sorry, I was eating some chocolate. So thanks, everybody. I didn't want to
no problem.
do that, but
yeah. No, just do it anyway because that's what I did last week.
Neither my wife or myself are I believe are on the spectrum, so I don't think our child will be. So
you never know. But anyway, so what has been happening in the news in the other parts of the world? Something like that. We hear a lot already about America as well. So
there was a coup in Haiti apparently.
Oh yeah,
involving 2 Americans. I believe.
What the fuck did we do?
Yeah, we did something in Haiti. I'm sure.
The country is baking under a heat wave, and then Hurricane Elsa, from Frozen, paid us a visit here in Florida. So
I know.
See, there's mass protests. Let's see.
No, I don't want.
And there was a coup attempt, not an actual coup. No wonder.
I was going to say in Haiti, I didn't think there was a coup. There's an assassination of the president.
They killed the president.
There it is.
Basically. They were mercenaries. To them were American citizens, I believe.
You know that in Clueless, the main character pronounces Haiti as Haitians.
Haitians.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't see. I have not seen the movie Clueless.
See, if you use a French pronunciation, it's
it's IT.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, IT.
Haiti, the former slave colony that was
rebelled and had to pay reparations for all the slaves they stole.
Yeah. Is the West ever gonna stop just screwing with that country, man?
No.
It's one of the biggest piss offs of imperialism.
I mean,
Right.
Joe Biden in 1990s said on video. It says it'd be nice if just Haiti just sank into the ground, as it were, and Haiti's one of those places we have since Biden got in office, we have been deporting a lot of people to. We probably were deporting a lot of people anyway, but we have been deporting a lot of people to Haiti as well, about 2,000 or so like that. Among the 24,000 that the Biden administration has deported. No,
a note to all the people who are desperately trying to flee their poverty-stricken homes where everyone is dying. Don't come here.
There's an X-Files episode about Haiti which involves voodoo. which like the voodoo is being used against like some of the soldiers at this like internment center. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Let's see.
Well, voodoo is literally magic and not actually a religion. Just FYI. I'm being totally serious there.
So up here in Canada, they the new governor general is an Indigenous person for the first time ever, and I've seen kind of people were like mixed reception to that. I guess not. It wasn't like somebody I saw a lot of Indigenous people were like, oh, that that's a start or whatever, but
Inuit.
yeah, she's Inuit. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Is she the one burning down the churches?
I don't know.
That's right.
But just about that for a second, like a lot of that's pissed off a lot of Native people too, because they're burning down churches that Native people go to.
Oh, okay.
Because a lot of Native people are Christians, of course, just because of the nature of this society. Anyway, Roman Catholics said that too, because that's the biggest group I believe up here, and so a lot of them are just straight up mad. I mean, I don't know who's doing it, right? You would think it would be pissed off First Nation people, but not.
It could also be white supremacists.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, trying a false flag or whatever, right? So,
or they're saying that why are you trying to make the Catholic Church look bad? So we'll burn your Catholic churches.
Yeah, so
you don't get to be part of our church. That makes sense.
It could. That's what I thought too. It could be something. It could be like, white supremacists doing it, definitely.
255 AD has an interesting question in the chat for the start of the conversation. A bit different topic though, so it's like we can go back to the previous topic if anyone needs to. You know, over Java and various left-wing movements in South America, do you think that the end of capitalism will start in the global South? I can't really predict. I don't know. It's just like the problem is like again. Well, the thing is, like with South America, the whole history of U.S. involvement in some of that. Every
time they try, we do a coup.
Yeah, so it's just like it's amazing that Zapatista is still around since 1994. I guess there's not a rich deposit of minerals or lithium or something like that that we want to go in there and take over or something like that. So it's I'm just want to see the end of capitalism happen wherever it does happen. But I do think that if we can do it while in the belly of the beast of the United States of America, then that'll be great. That'll be kind of my answer for now.
I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, just anytime they show self-determination, like Cuba did, in the 59 and all that, and up until now, and it's it's good when any of the countries in the Caribbean or the South America do that, so
I think that we're going to have a massive move to socialism here in the U.S. soon.
Yeah,
I do too.
I think it's
thanks to COVID.
Not just COVID, but I keep on hearing that there's it's more people favor socialism than capitalism, and people under 30 than has ever been the case in U.S. history. I think that inequality is growing so wildly out of control that it's going to be a problem. I think that, if society doesn't collapse, then we will move toward a socialized, not socialist, but more of a Norwegian model, just because things are awful enough that we'll have to.
Yeah. I'm just curious if it's going to go the FDR way or the French Revolution way.
That's what I meant by collapse.
or the tankies would say the shoot the whites and the Romanov way.
The landlords, yeah.
I don't know. It's because
historians and economists both agree that when inequality gets too bad between the haves and the have-nots, basically everything falls apart. And and I think that's what we are heading toward if we continue to let the Republicans be stupid fascist pieces of shit.
Yeah, and let them continue to have power.
Well, it doesn't turn into like the purge or something like that. Some kind of
if things collapse, I don't think it'll go in a socialist direction. I think the white supremacists will be out in droves.
I think
Mhm.
the thing about history, like world history, is it's like something like I don't know, maybe it's just the way I see it or just the way how I cope. It's like world history to me is very fun because I feel
Mhm.
like I want to like interact with the past, you know. I
You
don't know.
can't. Time travel's not real, Isaiah. Come
I
on.
have a DeLorean. I saw someone in town has a DeLorean. I swear.
Yeah, that's Florida.
Just get a flux
Buy an
capacitor
absolutely
and
shitty
you're
car.
good, but yeah.
Mhm.
That's probably the
well-
only like car I would probably own. Like if I had the money to buy a DeLorean, I would probably buy one.
You could probably buy one for like $2,000. They suck. It's a
Phoenix, I
solid
always go
steel
with-
piece of garbage.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, if not for the movie, I think there's enough people that collect them just to cosplay them as time machines
Right.
than
Mhm.
actually trying to buy one, because they weren't exactly a wide dispersed model of car
No.
No.
even back in the
Yeah.
day.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I saw a documentary
Lamborghini
on
kind
that.
of thing.
And also, they were made of cheap steel, so they folded very easily.
Mhm.
A lot of them broke down and got destroyed in minor accidents.
Phoenix, to answer your question of like what sauce do you think all the billionaires would like taste good with? I'm just, this is a preference thing. I'm just impartial to hot sauce. That's the word. So like cilantro, I do like enjoy for but like up to a point because it's like too sweet. It's just like normal cayenne and pepper hot sauce. That's the word. And like Frank's Red Hot is like good. But I also go with barbecue. I do like good spicy barbecue though. Yeah.
A good
Chipotle,
sauce.
yeah.
Reports is most human muscle resembles pig muscle in taste and texture, so it would probably be anything that would be good with pork would probably be good on billionaires.
And remember, it is white wine to go with pork, so I imagine that white wine be good with human too. This is all in jest. This is all in Minecraft. This is all in a joke. And remember, we must remember, Sword Freak Revelation 46A, no uncoded messages over open channels. YouTube is a terrible place to plan your protests. But well, one thing I'm going to touch back on about like the move to socialism is I think is all has to like you can trace it all back to like the 2008 as it were. Where were you in 2008? Like financially as it were. David Graeber actually pointed this out in talk in 2019. No, it's like months before he died. He passed away sadly. But like, it's because he found it like it's all because if you have a home and a mortgage or you have a job and with like room for improvements, room for advancement ahead of you or something like that, then you have a stake in the system as it were. So you tend to like want to keep the status quo as it is. And generally people of older generation, like at least Gen X or older, they would be more conservative, will vote for the Republicans, will vote for the Tories, or vote for Biden, so on and so forth. Or
Because back then they could get a stake in the system.
Exactly. So they want
the reason, the millennials, my generation, aren't buying into it is because we weren't allowed through the door.
Yeah, the roadmap that the Gen Xers had of like go to college, do well in school, go to college, do well in college, get a degree, and find some job that the degree is good for to like stay at that job, at the white collar job, pushing pencils, like stay in your cubicle, and then move all the way up the corporate ladder up to make me middle management.
That's boring as hell.
Well, yeah, it is, but like, yeah, it has.
But boring is comforting to a lot. Hey, we you know we liked our routines. We like it boring in many ways.
That's why autistic people would flourish in societies like that. I wouldn't, because I like spontaneousness. I hate my job cleaning carbon off of ovens. That sucks.
Yeah, because the Gen Xers had that roadmap, but for millennials, when 2008 happened, that roadmap just like burned up in our hands, and we're lucky to like owning a home. We're lucky to like have a situation where we don't have 6 roommates in the same house.
Yeah, duh. I can attest.
I sort of think about how I as a like. I think they call it elder millennial, and growing up, the youth culture around me was Gen X, which was very sort of cynical and like disinterested, and that did not prepare me for what happened later in life, because it's like cynicism is the last thing millennials need.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But speaking of like terrible jobs, this is kind of funny. So yes, on Friday, it was my birthday, July 9th. And so
Happy
I
birthday.
was like,
You're still young. Shut up.
Okay.
yes. So I was Dante from Clerks. I'm 37.
Get
Yeah.
back here.
But the funny thing is, I did work at a gas station for 4.5 years in the convenience store. So I did actually like say sometimes I'm not even supposed to be here today. But think of a minor movie character. I'm more like Dennis from Monty Python and Holy Grail. I'm 37. What? I'm 37. I'm not old. Well, I couldn't call you a man. You could call me Dennis. Well, I didn't know you were called Dennis. Well, didn't bother to find out. Because yes, I do go on and on about the violence inherent in the system.
Yeah.
I just can't see America as, I guess, a socialist country. I mean, I guess I could see it eventually, but I feel like there's like way too many idiots who, I don't know, because like there's people who think like more access to disabilities, for people with disabilities is socialism because it's helping people. I mean, maybe. I hope, but I'm just.
It has to take. So maybe you'll finally become like more socialists when the Zoomers get into power, because the Zoomers are the
If
ones.
they ever get to.
If they ever get to it, that's a good point.
Well, some
because-
Zoomers will get into power.
Yeah.
The rich white Zoomers who were born rich and white.
Yes, yes. Because like no, Charlie Kirk is still a millennial, but there's always like even of the millennials, there's still like the more extreme conservatives, as it were, because like they're still turning toward USA, trying to like indoctrinate the like rich white people of the millennial generation.
They are in general not really succeeding though. All of their demographics skew at best at elder millennials, but generally to boomers and older Gen X.
I guess like a lot of the internet chuds are like millennials, aren't they? For the most part, like Kirk, Crowder, Sargon,
Shapiro,
such. Yeah.
Maybe, or at least
or
like
also known as Sam Senior's his victim list.
Oh,
I can't believe Sam Cedar did that to him. Ambushed him out of nowhere, broke his legs, left him bleeding in the forest, crying for his mother. Oh.
You can run for that man for a long time, but
Stephen Crowder is 34 years old.
Like Mike Myers, he'll find you.
Tortured him until he gave up a list of other people who were afraid of him.
Sam Cedar is always behind a conservative, walking very slowly, carrying.
Oh,
with facts and logic.
Another mark on the chalkboard.
But yeah. So I think, but that is the point. Is like there's some of those like online like millennials that like are still conservative and something like that. Also there's like they're the ones that like say yes to the money and get the oil money to be able to be like talking about like why I left the left and all that.
Yeah, they're a bunch
stuff.
of grifters. They're grifters.
Yeah, so it's like, hey. So even though they might have a large audience too, so large audience doesn't mean jack shit anyway. Because like look at Carl Sargon running for like a parliament and how he got
UKIP.
Yes, he almost single-handedly destroyed a political party. Him and Count Dankula.
That was his best achievement ever, was to destroy that party.
I think that's why they brought him in, was to allow the party to die so that they could go on to become whatever the nationalist British National Party.
Well, the Brexit party was already there before that happened, because like what's his name?
Farage.
Let go start that, right? With the other people that he went with.
Yeah.
But
Paul Johnson Watts when all those people joined UKIP, Nigel Farage had left to form the Brexit Party, and most of the people had left UKIP toward the Brexit Party too. Yeah,
it was somebody before Sargon though. It was
Paul Justice Watson.
No, I forget his name.
Count Dankula.
He got arrested for for something in
Oh.
court.
Oh, Tommy Robinson.
I'll tell you.
Thank
Tommy,
you. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, when
The guy
Tommy
who was
Robinson-
harassing Muslims and
Yeah,
violating court orders about
Yeah.
anonymity.
fascist Elmo. That's what
Yeah,
some people like to call
I
him
overlooked him because he's
because he's so short.
He's dropped off the
He's-
radar.
Yeah.
Well, I think being arrested will do that, but yeah, Tommy Robinson, Stephen Jackson Lennon. That's his actual
Yeah, that's his real name. Yeah.
but when they were allowed into the party is when Farage.
Nigel Farage, yeah. Nigel Farage is more respectable than being associated with Stephen Jackson Lennon. And I'm kind of like, you know what, Nigel? I still hate you, but I can see that. I can see you don't want to be associated with Tommy Robinson. That's like football hooligan who just like wants to beat up people, honestly.
It would have been political suicide to stay in that party with all of those weird people.
Mm-hmm.
When the people that say the quiet part out loud, or say the quiet part loud join the party, you need to leave the party.
Because like you could basically form like by Farage and the people that started it just to get the UK out of the EU, like so they kind of achieved their goal, right? So they kind of that's why.
I'm sorry, Metro.
You know they. That's why it died because like that's usually what happens in single issue parties when they accomplish whatever they're after. It is die, you know. I mentioned like the marijuana party in Canada probably may have died. Not that it's that much support in the first place, but you know, since they legalize marijuana, you know, what's the point of being, you know, doing it anymore? It's been achieved. So
I mean, that's one thing for about like being a single issue voter, but being a single issue political party. I mean, not like I don't know. It's just like I don't participate that much in like electoralism. I'll comment on a lot, but it's just like I think it was like that'd be a good idea to diversify, or like the disband party when it's like already.
Like parties that want like a player power need to you know be like, a lot of issues. Actually, the Green Party in Canada is sort of kind of trying to do that right now by trying to not just be an environmental green policy party anymore. To mix results more, you know, they're kind of having trouble these days though. With Israel Palestine kind of caused them a lot of problems in the last little while because the leader is a Jewish woman who also happens to be an African Canadian too. Woman, and her advisor who's also Jewish, I believe is a white guy, but he decided to go on Twitter and say like, yeah, we're gonna like try to defeat all our MPs because they're like, you know, Palestinians, and he also accused them of being like anti, you know, LGBTQ plus also and anti-indigenous and a bunch of other stuff too. So they're trying to like kick her the leader out of power now because they're like she's bad news, and so that's going down right now. But
that sucks.
Yeah, it's kind of a sad story somewhat.
But they're being very polite about it. That's
they're Canadian,
there's a process. Yeah, there's a process to remove. Like I guess they call like a confidence motion or something like that in the party or something. Yeah, vote with membership, I think is how it goes with them. Different parties have different mechanisms for getting rid of leaders if they you know, think that they're doing a bad job. So
you could talk to one of our CIA people. They can do things with other people's problematic government leaders.
Well, I mean, is he problematic in the right way? What I'm asking is he preventing our corporations from drilling for oil?
Well, a Green Party problem. Wait.
I mean, he probably wants to with being part of the Green Party, but chances are, given the state of the Canadian oil industry, he's not succeeding.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess the activists, they stopped like the Keystone XL, right? I guess both sides of the environmentalists worked on that, you know, because it ran through both sides of the border, or it would have. So, but yeah, they've been trying to diversify to like other issues, and like they hit like high watermarks in like the number of their like voters and representation and stuff like that. It seemed like it was a breakthrough last time, and now they're kind of like, it's kind of being like undermined by this whole like this over Israel-Palestine kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the reason why Americans support the whole Israel thing is because they think that's where the world's going to end because of their religion tells them that. Oh, and then someone said
that's why
Canada.
American Christians support.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Someone said Canada, so I just said, she said, "See you later, boy. He was a skater boy." So there you go.
Canada
Also-
is
Isn't
a
it-
stab of ravine to your head, I guess.
Also-
Isn't it ironic?
Also, another reason besides the
Yeah.
besides the apocalypse thing,
Mhm.
Palestinians are more likely to be brown than Israelis.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly.
And of course, having an ally in the region, it allows us to destabilize the politics so that we can, go do our profit-making thing.
Or
Yeah,
oil,
yeah, exactly.
or oil fucking.
Yeah. Israel is just like a proxy state, settler colonialist project that's a proxy state for like the UK and for like America. Joe Biden even said that literally like that, when he was in the Senate, like in the 90s or something like that.
There was a picture here in Florida where DeSantis, and I gotta run in like 5 minutes.
Sure
There was,
thing.
there's like a picture of like our governor who's a Catholic, signing a religious bill where where all the kids have to do I think a minute of silence every day for school, and like so he's signing the bill as a
No
Catholic,
critical race theory. Yes, prayer.
He's signing the bill as
after.
a Catholic around a bunch of Jewish people in a Southern Baptist part of the country, and I'm like, this is like the best thing of Duck Duck Goose I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Is critical
I think
race theory in the room with us right now, Karen?
I think with some Americans, like I said, a lot of them it's just because they're evangelicals and they think the rapture is going to happen there. As well, but then
Well, it's not that
for
it's going to happen everywhere, but Israel has to exist, and there has to be that spotless red heifer or something.
So for
and it
a lot
has
of
to be
people, it's
destroyed
like
in
that.
Because all the Jews are going to die apparently to these
times.
people.
Most of the people go in for like the imperial proxy state stuff, geopolitical grand strategy. I think a lot of Americans it's that too with Israel. So take your pick.
Yeah, exactly. Joe, you had a point that you wanted.
Oh yeah, about critical race theory. Did anyone hear that? Lorraine Bobbitt. I forget.
I call her bobblehead.
Anyway, she admitted that the assumptions of critical race theory are true.
What assumptions are that?
America has a racist past that informs the present.
Yeah. Okay.
That's really all there is to it.
So a bunch of teachers, over 5,000, put forth a petition saying that they would not allow the laws to keep them from teaching the truth. And it didn't mention critical race theory at all. And she went up talking about this petition, saying that all of them should be fired for trying to teach critical race theory. Thus, through implication, it must be true.
She kind of gone quiet for a while, but she's back now with a vengeance. Because she's like, I can't let Martin Taylor Greene do all the crazy Republican.
She's jealous.
Stupid can only be contained temporarily. It can never be forever sealed.
She's
away.
like, I gotta get my Sarah Palin energy back, But,
that is not dead, which can
I
forever
look like
lie.
Sarah Palin too, but
I call her Margarine Taylor Greene, or some people call her Magic the Gathering.
No, Magic the Gathering is fun and helps people feel good about themselves.
I still have my decks right next to me.
Apparently, they got Forgotten Realms deck out, or a series out now. Actually, I have to look into that.
During my session at D&D this week, our DM, he was like late, and he's like, he was the first one there, so we didn't know what to do. We kind of just were talking about what we were going to do later on in the operation that we were planning, and he's like, I'm just really sick of it. He just told us. It's just kind of funny.
So like, before I leave, it's kind of interesting how like whenever someone's like from a certain country, I just sing like a song from like a band from that country. Like when I meet someone from Germany, I'm just gonna sing 99 Luftballons.
All right. What if they're from Azerbaijan?
that was a problem for me because my wife is from such like very obscure country, at least from our point of view anyway. Being from Azerbaijan, that is. And yeah, so I didn't really. Now there is that Eurovision one that when they won in 2012. I did find that eventually, and I kind of used that as my song now for people from there.
Yeah, I do agree, Jordan Jumpy. Like the no CRT is like the whole like no evolution in school sort of thing all over again. Because like it's kind of like no, they just don't want critical race theory to be like taught in the schools because they don't want to explain why the kids like grandma is in the photo of the civil rights era of her yelling at that black woman as it were in the background.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be part of it, but chances are it's because they don't want to lose power as people are actually educated.
Oh yeah, that's the most.
I mean, that's
a real thing. It's a critical race theory is just the latest scapegoat, that's it were, and the latest thing to like fight
moral
against
panic.
the cultural war, the moral panic. Yeah,
you can't have a smaller and smaller base of people consolidate more and more power if people are educated. You just can't.
My mother is rereading Gone with the Wind at the moment, and I'm like, Mom, please read something else. That's like...
I remember like when Obama first came on the scene, it was like black liberation theology basically was what they were kind of the right was going on about as far as like black intellectual thought.
Yeah,
like what
they're being
what we
racist
should be
against
scared
white
of.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think Glenn Beck said, I think Obama hates white people. It's like, you do know that Obama's mother was white, right?
Well, just because he has a white friend doesn't mean that he doesn't hate white people. Come on, it goes both ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Marty Abernathy is like on TikToks a lot, and like there was apparently like a month ago, like one black woman on TikTok says, "Man, I just hate white people." Oh, I'm personally just like, you know what, fair, totally fair. But oh my god, the comments that she has gotten just for saying that I hate white people, I don't trust white people. I'd rather if I just never interact with white people ever again. I'm like, totally fair. Yeah, I totally understand.
Well,
you.
inside I am white.
Yep. Watching the History Channel, being autistic,
Like
Yeah.
when people tell me they hate like some insert group here, it's like if they I usually ask like what's the reason, you know, and if they say like, oh, I've had bad experiences, like they rip me off. I can understand that, of course, and you know, I guess with that one, I can totally understand that one too from that lady as well.
No, but it's so for me and the other anarchists like speaking as were, I think it's like in our ideal society, post scarcity, and free movement, free association, as it were. So like people can have their own municipalities, their own communes, and maybe we will have to work each other for trade if there's something like in one region that's not in the other region, blah. But like, so if that future happens, if that does happen, and a bunch of people of color or indigenous people or black people will say, in this commune, no white people are allowed. Free association, no white people allowed. I think it's like kind of like we have to go fair and just like.
I mean, the white supremacists are definitely going to be saying that. No black people allowed.
And they'll have their own like communes where there's no insert whatever minority here probably too. So you know, it's like, that's fair.
But which is why I'm not going to be in that commune as well, because like I think
and a lot of people aren't going to trade with them.
Yeah, exactly. We weren't not going to do any deals with the white supremacist ones, but well, the block communes, they definitely can we can definitely leave them alone as well, because like I think it's only fair, given the history.
Well, I don't know if I would want to live in something like that because it'd just be boring, I guess. But that's just.
Oh yeah, that's totally. I mean, again, free movement and free association. Now,
okay, it is not the position of the Social Justice Alchemy podcast that black people are boring.
Well, who said that anyway?
But I do have to run though.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Just have
All right. See you guys. See you guys
later.
next Sunday. Bye,
See ya.
guys.
Bye. 255 AD also has another question in the chat. How long do you think a fascist America can last?
I think the U.S. is too big, too broad, too both rural and urban. I don't think they could control either situation for very long.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless they brought the entire military home and turned it into an overbearing, absolute police state completely overnight. And even
Like, it
then,
was
that would
like-
be unstable because people would not put up with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And assumingly, you would not get enough of the actual military to militarize to buy into the program of violently suppressing.
Especially since there are a heck of a lot of brown people in the military.
Yeah. I think like the majority of the U.S. military still is inside the United States, like in terms of like the troop numbers anyway. Now a good chunk of it is outside, but I think it's like upwards of like 8% is still inside the U.S. borders. You know, so the majority of it is here anyway. So they could, plus the National Guards too, right? Which I don't think they had.
Yeah, the National Guard is part of the armed forces. Yes, exactly. No, you got a point.
Yeah, I think it's also about not paying when fascists come out with some sort of like wild fear-mongering theory. We have to not let them. We have to sort of not let them speak about it like it's something real. Like
critical race theory.
No. It's like the thing with. Have you heard about what happened at that spa with the right wingers inventing a trans woman coming into the spa and having a penis just because she had to change and go into the water like all the other women. And
the spa thing.
Yeah, and it turns out that it never happened.
Oh, yes.
Where was this?
Even in Florida, right? Or no,
it was nowhere because it didn't happen.
It was in California. So it's this spa that has a trans-friendly. It's trans.
Right.
It's inclusive. Yeah.
So there wasn't even a trans person?
No, apparently not. It was this.
Wow.
They invented this story and let it blow up, and then all of the TERFs came riding in on their screeching dragons or whatever it is they have, and
they came out from under their britches.
Yeah, they did, and it's like. But think about the children. When the children saw a penis, and it's like, yeah, it's a penis. It can't hurt you, unless the person is hurting you. It just hangs there. It's so dangerous, and it's just like
I don't know. I heard a horde of penises killed like 30,000 Albanians back in '37.
Yeah, that one rogue incident of. Disembodied penis.
You got to watch out for rogue penises, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That one rogue disembodied penises is a very fun sentence.
Oh, kitty.
Yeah. Kitty. Yeah. So I just think that we need to shut people. We need to be faster at shutting these stories down before they gain momentum, and kind of. Also call out news, the big media corporations for uncritically reporting on things that are not true. But I know that's hard, but it's like, it's just annoying when things like that happen.
Well, it's hard in this country because there's like, 30% of the country, like more than half of the Republicans are steeped in
30% crazy, 70% stupid.
Well, no, they're steeped in believing things that are manifestly untrue, but they get talked about as though they're important, and so we have to deal with them. You know,
Unfortunately,
the whole
30% of Republicans believe some portion of QAnon. 70% believe that Donald Trump actually did win the election.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, is the number of Republicans going? Is the number of Republicans going down or up as far as like registration goes?
Well, Fox News is losing like 1,000 viewers a day. May they rest in peace.
Oh yeah, because
they're dying off because they're 95 years old.
But I suspect the number of Republicans is going down just because they keep on going further and further to
I imagine
white.
COVID did a number on them probably, because most of the ones that are dying now are the anti-vaxxers, which are probably usually completely Republican, probably. But
Well, definitely, if they do get into COVID, even until their dying breath, as this happened in in a hospital in the fall, someone says, "No, it can't be COVID. It can't be COVID. It must be something else. Treat me for heal me." Something like that was COVID-19. COVID-19 is not real. It can't be that. And he died still believing that it
Give me the UV and bleach.
Yes, yes. See, actually, did ask for that. So that just shows you it's some of these people will believe the lie up until the final end.
Speaking of final end, do we have fishy fashy today?
We do not, because
all right,
larger group makes it harder to do. So,
oh, that's right. Well, then fuck all of you. I have been on the edge of falling asleep this whole time, and I apologize because I'm sure that there was brilliant shit that went down that I just entirely missed, and even more brilliant shit that I didn't say that I should have. Because
sorry,
fuck off, and everybody in the chat also fuck off and have a great time. Bye.
Bye, Tom.
Bye, Tom.
He is a baby boomer, and I did look up according to Wikipedia, baby boomer is generally people who were born in between 1946 and 1964. That's the generation of baby boomer, and Tom was
hence
born
my dad is 1 year too old to be a boomer.
Oh, both my parents are 57 and 61 to be exact.
Yeah, and my parents were born in 55 and 58, so yeah, they're definitely boomers.
Yeah.
Oh yes, Marty Afternouthy. Yes, we should try to be friends with tourists. Thomas Smith told me so. Yes, exactly. Hello, Marty Afternouthy. And remember, it's a Patreon party, so the link is. We're still going to go on for at least an hour or so, and the link to join is in the Patreon thing. So go ahead and hop on in if you want to, because and sorry to we didn't say they're gettable. Yeah, that's what Thomas Smith has actually said, that they're gettable. There's a lot of people that unless you say that they're the new atheists emerge from the far right, which anyway, yeah.
But it's also I'm sorry to return to the V-Spark thing. That the Proud Boys showed up, and you have to question these TERFs. Why are they okay with misogynist right wingers coming in to defend them?
United in bigotry.
Yeah, it is. So they don't get to do this concern trolling anymore. Oh, we're just thinking about the women. No, you're not. You just hate trans people.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't about protecting women and children when they were talking about black people. It's not about protecting women and children now.
It wasn't about water. It wasn't about water fountains back then. It isn't about bathrooms right now. Yeah, because and the LGB alliance or whatever, so as it were, we're just wondering, we get a lot of funding from the Heritage Foundation. That's kind of weird. We normally be against anything that the Heritage Foundation is about, but they seem to be very supportive of us, and we'll gladly take the money, as it were. Just
there's a doubt that there's actually any gay people in that organization, but we can't say for sure. There might be some, but it's
because didn't someone, or at least the what's it called, the Stone is that
Stonewall.
Yeah, Stonewall. They're like, oh, we shouldn't get involved in the fight for trans rights because we got ours, basically, so fuck you, basically, is what the guy said, more or less.
That's too far. We can't go with trans. No. It's hard enough to make them accept the gays. We need to stop. Get out of here, Marsha.
Yeah. This is something that Marty has talked about before in discussions kink pride and sort of thing, because there's always that split in people in the LGBTQIA plus people, because there are assimilationists that want to be just like the other cis-hets, and then we're normals, we can fit into the society, and then there's liberationists that's no, we just want to be who we are and be true to ourselves. fuck society says that we are like bad people for that.
And then you have like lesbians who are basically, I guess, more or less scared of trans women, that's a thing, right? Where
and also the gold star lesbian bullshit.
But again, I wouldn't like to say that it's all lesbians who are against trans women, because I don't think it's all lesbians. It's
just a certain faction, but like there's certain like prominent ones that I've seen. I think were covered by different like Twitch streamers and other YouTubers as well. It's probably only a small portion of the lesbian community, I would think, but just like TERFs are not like that. A small percentage of feminists, probably overall, I would think, maybe larger.
A TERFs feminist, they might call themselves feminists, but they're really not, because they don't do anything for women.
I mean, there are about us
just like MRAs don't actually do anything for men. It's all about the bigotry.
The whole men's that's a perversion of actually I think both those cases are a perversion of what they claim to be part of, because there's been like, in the case of the men's rights movement, people fighting for like, equal custody considerations in the family court system for a long time, for like decades at this point. And then they've got hijacked by like these idiots, right? And then same thing with feminists like of all stripes getting hijacked by TERFs or usually conservative feminists, probably I would imagine as well. I think they used to call them pod feminists back in the day, like not real feminists kind of thing. Or that's, when I'm in school, that's what my professor called them anyway.
It's just like strange things. But again, it's just like, hey, they can call themselves feminists. It's like, but yeah, I agree, Marty. That's because TERFs are conservatives, because they just really are reactionaries and like regressives in a way. Yeah, that's what ER stands for in TERFs. Not radical. There's nothing radical about the position. They're reactionaries.
Yeah, and they're not feminists. They're fascists.
Yes.
Trans exclusionary, regressive, or
reactionary fascists.
Reactionary fascists. I guess it's like there's like a lot of people that pretend to be things that they're not. Like there's like a lot of leftists or people that pretend that they're leftists and they're not really.
Like Republicans pretend to be decent human beings.
Yeah. Like
or conservatives, or they pretend to be conservatives.
There's that sort of type of like a grifter online leftist now, or like Jimmy Dore and people like that, and I guess Dave Rubin,
pseudo leftists.
Well, okay, so that's the thing with like leftists or leftism as like a word and stuff like that. What do they actually mean? So like if you say that like you're a leftist, especially if you're American, I don't know what you mean by that, because like leftism it's just a like category. It's just a category. Leftist is just a category.
Democrats are not leftists.
Yes,
they think they are, but
they're not even on the left when you think about it, right? Like they're actually,
exactly.
They're
that's what I'm saying. They are to the left of Republicans, but you know what? So is chalk.
Now I forgot what I was saying. Never mind.
I'll come back to you in a second.
It's leftism is like the category for left-wing political ideologies, which consists of socialism, communism, and anarchism, and I'll put anti-capitalism in there too, because I guess it's possible for someone to be anti-capitalist, but not really socialist, communist, or anarchist.
Yeah, like the Soviet Union was an anti-capitalist right-wing regime.
True.
I remember now. It's like they think, if they say leftist, that would make them cooler. But
it's a brand at this point, like on the internet, like it's like sort of, and
it's social capital.
I remember this streamer,
which as an autistic person, I don't actually care about because I don't have a theory of mind.
She said that like in her mind, to be a leftist, like the minimum, you have to be anti-capitalist at least.
In my mind, yes.
Because
I think that's a useful dividing line between left and right.
Yeah, I've heard other ones too, but like really, but some people like claim to be leftists and not and are capitalists. Like I don't know, like Cenk Uygur or the Young Turks.
That's the thing. It's like they think that they're a socialist, but like they really are not. They're social democrats, as it were, because like, and that's what a lot of
AOC and Bernie Sanders.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that's what a lot of people like. When I met people who said that they're borderline socialists, it's because they were like a huge Bernie fan, as it were, and so they still hold on to think that like they're that like artists or other creators or other like creative people need to have rewards like socially and like morally and like financially rewards for the creations. And I'm just like, okay, I can agree with the first two, like social rewards, I guess, is like fine for the most part. People admiration, so admiration, that was the second one. But like financial rewards, should artists and creators just like get more than others, as it were? And it's like they can agree that like not at expense of like everyone else's needs, as it were, but like some people still believe that like work needs to be rewarded, as it were. And that's where you can see that like those people are probably like they think they maybe they say they're socialists or think that they're socialists, but really what they are is a social democrat, and that's a lot of confusion there.
It's a weird dichotomy there, as when a lot of people use actors and sports people as their example for that. It's hard not to feel like you should push back against it, because there are so many rewards being created by their labor that it seems wrong to not, in the system that we currently have, to not let them have some of it, as opposed to it all just going to the owners. Because if we just reduce their salaries to what to the average, and still let that much
get rid of the owners, and I think then it would be okay to reduce their salaries.
Yeah.
Socialism.
Exactly. which is why when I argue, it's just like, hey, maybe this is my optimism about like in a post-scarcity, like a fully luxury automated gay space anarcho-communism future, as it were, that all these things be easy. Like we wouldn't need intellectual property rights at all, honestly. But some people still think like, no, I think there still needs to be some intellectual property rights to, again, for protecting the individual artists' creations from being like.
In socialism, there won't be starving artists. There'll just be artists.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but some people still think that like even in that kind of society, which is probably coming across like a fundamental difference between I have with these people, is like no, there's still going to be like people that is going to like be frauds and like take another artist's creation and claim it's their own. It's just like who, why would they need to if like they have all
social
their basic needs?
Reputation.
Well,
so obviously,
and
we won't be doing that.
And then if they get caught, everyone will shun them.
Exactly.
It's like until they get caught, it's like, oh, sure, they're getting.
Joe, I think you froze.
It was just Joe, not me. Okay, I don't feel bad. Okay, Joe's back.
You're back, Joe.
Where did it cut off? Where did it cut off?
I don't remember. It's like.
It doesn't matter. We weren't listening to you anyway.
Okay, so you were talking about like, well, yes, if we find
once
out
they get caught,
or
until they get caught,
yeah, they're frauds, and they suddenly lose their social, their
capital,
social recognition, and
exactly.
actually get like a negative hit to it, and in the meanwhile, it's like, well, so long as the original artist isn't starving, I mean it sucks that somebody else is getting the reputation for it, but it's not worth having people starve to make sure that people don't fraud reputation.
So I think this is like, I have to like make the distinction between some of these people, and they probably will agree to the distinction that like we got to, if we're talking about intellectual property rights, we got to like separate like owners owning those things, like record labels and movie studios owning the rights to those sort of things, and determining that like, no, you fans can't like make this Star Trek thing because like, no, we have those exclusive rights to that. You can't do that, blah blah blah. And artists creating the thing, and like people recognizing it's that artist that create this thing, as it were. And but sometimes even if we do recognize an artist creating the story that we all like, we probably don't want to like give any more money to that artist when they found out that they are a trans exclusionary radical fascist like jackass Karen Rawlings.
Yeah, and no, sorry.
So
I finally got around to getting rid of all of my when I reorganized and resorted everything. I finally got around to actually getting rid of all of my Ravenclaw things.
Yes,
because I decided I would never ever wear them in public again. So why bother having them?
And besides,
Yeah,
Hufflepuff is the best house.
Yeah.
Slytherin
Yeah,
are
I
rich
never
bullies.
owned any
Gryffindor are
friends.
popular bullies. Ravenclaw is nerd bullies. Hufflepuff is just friends.
I've never.
Hence
ever...
why she never ever talked about Hufflepuff and made them look like shit. Because she's a bad person.
Hey Taffy, I was just like, I actually kind of like cover something that we talked about before. Talk about intellectual property rights and how we have to distinguish between like the corporate owners of owning property rights and like artists having a creation that we should all recognize that like this thing is an artist who created this something. And so when we see someone else like ripping it off or something like that, like a comedian stealing a joke or something like that, or a Vanilla Ice is like, no, that beats from Under Pressure. But then he'll go, no. They go,
It's dun 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 dun.
We go dun 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 dun, as it were. We can still like praise like Queen for like the music that they do.
Yes, Marty, we have talked about Ron DeSantis. As I brought.
There's only so many chords that you can put together in a certain arrangement. True. Yeah, it's kind of limited. I didn't realize that until I was like older, but musicians told me that it is. There's only like
4 chords.
So many arrangements you can put together.
Only in European music. Other music, they do different things.
Well, I guess in that arena anyway. But a combination that I've seen a lot happen the last like maybe 5-6 years in Canada is about people stealing, appropriating Indigenous art. That's sort of usually by white people, but not exclusively. But in the the people that I saw just this week actually there was a woman having an exhibition, and then sometimes they will portray themselves as Indigenous but are not really. But this woman I don't think ever did. But she just kind of just like painting it. Well, yeah. Anyway, so and I think the artist who started this style is maybe still alive. They call it the Woodlands Indigenous style, I think, up here. But anyway, so usually that gets like kiboshed if someone tries to do that, which I guess is good, because this is the one of the things they have, to make money, indigenous people, so they shouldn't, have it gimped in any way. But then that kind of broadens into other cultures too, like who should be allowed to use what, imagery and iconography kind of stuff. So that's kind of an interesting combination, I think. Kind of sprouting from that broader Indigenous one. So
yeah, that's always something to consider, and that's a good point, John Jumpy. Like Huffpot always sounds like to me a slang word for cannabis. That's a good one. Yes, like John Brockman said, Marty, yes, we did talk about Ron DeSantis. I don't know what like things that he had done recently that is terrible, but he's just been terrible, period, as it were.
Yeah, well, he's banning critical race theory and forcing us to forcing school children to have a moment of silence. That's the only new stuff I've heard about.
I don't know when he's up for re-election, but if I was a Democrat or someone running the primaries against him, like Republican, I would just make a campaign video and just play that building collapse, the whole thing. Look, this happened. This is all his fault.
Yeah, that kind of collapse in like Florida. I haven't looked into the details as it were, but like I imagine is much similar to like the fire at the Grenfell Towers in like the UK at that council.
Yeah, I was thinking something like that. It was like
90 people
if
died.
I was the Florida government, I'd be checking every building within a certain age, because I guess your building code is shoddy as all get out, probably,
the infrastructure just period across the board in like many places just has to be like check up too, but since like infrastructure is such a boring topic to talk about, it's not exciting, doesn't like get votes, it doesn't get like clicks, it doesn't get like attention as it were. So and it's just like chores honestly at the household. It's like that, oh yeah, I've been meaning to like fix that shelf, but like you forget about it or do other things, or it's just like I'll do it later whenever later comes around.
Well, when you're trying to, give money to the rich, stuff like building bridges and stuff like that, or even maintain them doesn't kind of, matter anymore. So that's kind of how it is in the U.S. like the last, maybe forever, but
yeah, true. It's like especially since like the biggest like national like infrastructure project was from like Eisenhower, who took the defense budget as it were and used that budget to like make the freeways and the roadways that we have now across the country as it were. But that's the real economic funds. Now, don't get me wrong, Eisenhower's still a cunt though, because like he like coup a bunch of like leftists in like Africa or something like that.
He's a little less worse than the other Republican pieces of shit, but anyway.
He was a Republican before Nixon.
Yes, that's an important point.
He's an interesting guy though, because like you go from like literally like the entire like head of like I guess that the swing commander in Europe anyway, but one of the main guys, generals in World War II. So like, hey, there's this thing called military industrial complex, and it's bad, and we should like not let it like run everything.
That was just like a final speech while on his last day in office. Yep.
The Republican Party was an interesting beast before Nixon, because after the Civil War, they were relegated to being the urban party. So they had a conflict between big business interests and workers' interests. Or in other words, the terms that they often use are Rockefeller Republicans for Governor Nelson Rockefeller of New York, basically a modern Democrat, liberal type, progressive, versus Goldwater Republicans being the absolute cockwaffle libertarians.
Yep.
And Eisenhower was far more a Rockefeller Republican, even though he was a military guy.
Yeah, and even though, and like, was there like a split as well in the Democratic Party at the time, as well as like
between Northerners and Southerners, between the white supremacist fascist pieces of shit in the South
60s
versus just farmers up north.
The civil rights legislation that was brought in by Johnson, that's sort of like where we get the modern dichotomy.
Actually, the split happened before when Truman tried to pass civil rights legislation in 1947. That's when the Dixiecrats broke off, because FDR had sort of stolen away the workers from the Republicans.
Yes.
And that created instability in the Democrats because those workers included black people.
Yes.
So when Truman said, hey, look at this World War II stuff, maybe we should stop being hideously awful to the black people in our country. And Southerners said, fuck no. We're going to continue being hideously
That's kind
awful.
of our brand, sir. Our core brand proposition.
It's not just one event that led to the and it's not that the ideology completely flipped, because
it didn't flip at all. They switched bases. They didn't really switch ideologies.
Yeah.
The Democrats took the urban workers from the Republicans. The Republicans took the white supremacists from the Democrats. But the Republicans kept their big business ties, and the Democrats kept northern farmers. So just kind of weird stuff going on there.
Yeah. Politics in America is weird, just period.
It was a really weird 40 years there from FDR to Nixon.
I remember when I worked at a nonprofit helping people who were developmentally disabled. There was a very pro-Republican coworker I had there, which was weird, but whatever. And she like brought up like all of the things that all of the people that were Democrats, and it's like, yeah, the Democrats were against it. It's like, yeah, or the Democrats put forth watched Birth of a Nation and spread it to things like, okay, that's
they were Southerners.
Fair.
That was Woodrow Wilson.
That's fair, but remind me which party belongs, or which party did the person who was supported by the Klan in this election What party was he?
Yeah, you can't keep on riding the coattails of shit that happened 150 years ago. Lincoln was killed by one of yours.
Yeah.
The person who killed Lincoln thought the way you did or do.
It's extremely interesting to hear about how politics work in the United States, because our political system works very differently, because we have a lot of parties. We have like 13 or something like that.
Yeah, our first past the post system requires us to have 2.
Yeah. So yeah, but ours do kind of fall into 2 groups, like left and right parties, and then there's some that don't quite fit into either group, but tend to support like one party or the other, one group or the other. We have our nationalist party, which is fuck. You know what I mean?
Ideologically?
Yeah. They are hard to place because they have a lot of social programs, because their old leader was a carer for old people, so she tried to keep that base by always talking about, we need to secure old people's care in the future. But then they also have this very nationalistic, sort of xenophobic part of their politics, and also
so they combine a sort of nationalism and socialism.
Kind of, yeah, but it's like,
I was calling them Nazis. Are they National Socialists?
No, they're not. They're not National Socialists, but they're it's kind of like watered down National Socialism, kind of. But I can't. If I said that in Denmark, I would get yelled at, because I would be accused of painting people in a very bad way, because they would be very adamant that they did not support Nazi Germany, and Hitler was not a good guy. And Second World War, Denmark's efforts to get rid of the occupation and stuff, because
Hitler was not a good guy.
Yeah, yeah, but it's like,
he had some good ideas, though, according to Candace.
Yeah,
if only he had stuck to Germany. No.
But it's like, because we were occupied during the Second World War, our sort of resistance is very it's very ingrained in our mind that we fought the occupation a lot, which we maybe kind of didn't so much do. At least some of our politicians didn't fight it.
Who is the Danish Charles de Gaulle? The wonderful hero who Julie definitely likes.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Julie does not like Charles.
That guy was a dick, man, for his whole life. But
I think I don't remember that person's name right now. I don't remember, but our king at the time, he kind of became this big sort of
figurehead,
symbol of hope. Yeah, because he used to ride his horse around in Copenhagen, and even though there were Nazis all around, so. But we didn't have it too rough in Denmark. Norway had it way worse, because Norway didn't cooperate as much with the occupation as we did. So.
Yeah, I mean, even Sam Harris said, like, I don't care where the source of the good information is gone. Even it's like Hitler, the source doesn't matter. It's the information that's important.
Yeah.
If the only ones saying reasonable things about immigration are the fascists, then I'm going to talk to the fascists.
Yeah.
Tim, you're about to say something?
Oh yeah, I remember because when I lived there, I spoke to a lot of older Norwegians, and this is like back in like 2007, 2008, so they weren't quite as old as past they would be now. But and they told me like stories about how like it was like a really active resistance there. Actually, a good portion of like their military kind of just like left with the British and went over to keep fighting over with the Allies and stuff like that. So they definitely kind of and I think their king left too. He went to go live in England for a while. As maybe most of the
England
government
just
did
sort
too.
of collecting national leaders.
Well, yeah,
Charles de
they're
Gaulle,
kind
King
of
of
like
Norway.
the jumping off point for like all of the resistance against the Nazis. Being under attack themselves too, but like that's basically where all the American and other soldiers that weren't from Europe went to stay there until like 1944, and then Normandy happened. But yeah, I guess like a lot of like the European countries had like some kind of resistance on some level, even like in Poland, like the uprisings in 44 and like Warsaw is a good example of that as well. And the Russians had theirs partisans too. Yeah.
It's so strange because we were not really, no one really talked about Russia except for the fact that they almost occupied one of our islands when the Nazi regime fell. They almost took one of our islands. So
yeah.
But I remember hearing a lot of stuff about like the Berlin Wall and stuff, and in my head it got mixed up so that it was because of the of the Second World War that the Berlin Wall was built, which it wasn't really, but that was how I understood it as a child, because
yeah. I guess it was built more because of the Cold War competition, but more than anything.
I thought that was one of the justifications, though, or was it just? Wait, no, that was the justification as to why Berlin, in particular, couldn't be a united country, as well as Germany as a country couldn't be.
Yeah, because it was weird. I was surprised that the Russians like they like allowed that, like where, because like Berlin, it was in their sector, right? But like the city itself had like each had 4 sections too, like the rest of the country did, until they formed it back into West Germany. Yeah, so that was always kind of interesting because that went on until the end of the Cold War, basically. The whole 4 sections of Berlin. Yeah.
Yeah. We had maps my entire school time that said West Germany on it.
Yeah. Germany is now in one piece, as like Yakko in Yakko's World would like say.
That song is increasingly out of date.
It gets increasingly out of date almost each time. There's a lot of things that change. They even said that the Spanish Sahara is gone as well.
I remember like reading that like they were worried about when the the Berlin Wall came down and Germany was reunited in '89, that it'd be hard to reintegrate them because the western part was more economically developed than the eastern part. And I think they're still trying to deal with that even today, where the East is like less, the incomes are lower, the inequity is greater, I believe. But then I was talking to a friend about what would it take to bring like North and South Korea back together. Say that the North finally, the Kim family that was removed or whatever.
That would be a massive.
The disparity
problem.
is like I heard like 100 times worse than East and West Germany at the time. So it would be like the disparity is like, so it's on a completely other level than like East and West Germany was. So if the time ever comes for that, I guess good luck with that, Koreans. But
yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
Okay, then I'll copy over the link to my friend. Don't mind.
Like North Korea is basically a completely rural society with the occasional bullshit construction project and a massive military. I think that's really all there is to it.
Yeah, the internet actually there is. I heard like fewer than foreign people have access to the internet in that country, something like that. and they all belong to the regime, I believe, in some connection or another.
Just kind of a hereditary monarchy at this point.
Yeah, it kind of is a hereditary monarchy. Yeah, because China's really the only people that trade with them. I think. Well, the South like tries to be nice to them and trade with them, but I feel like they just get kind of like their hand bitten all the time by the North. I did live there I taught there for a number of years. When as far as the
North
DMZ,
Korea, Norway,
yeah.
Are you trying to hang out with foreigners? Are you some sort of anti-American traitor?
He's Canadian anyway.
I married a foreigner too, right, from my own country. So yeah, that's kind of my brand at this point. But yeah, like it's like a bizarre world looking at the two Koreas, because I think at one point, like because they were split in 45 after the war by the U.S. and the Russians, and they basically the North at one point was like better off than the South when they first started, but that didn't last long. I think maybe by like the 60s it was like the South had outgrown them by somewhat economically.
It's almost like authoritarianism is a bad government model.
Yeah, well, because the South had an authoritarian government for a long time. Actually, they had like coups and stuff like that in a military government at different times. I think like the previous president to the current president, who was a woman, her father was like a military dictator in that country.
Interesting.
Who was assassinated, and then she ended up like on corruption charges and put in jail, where she resides currently. But yeah, the Koreans don't put up with stuff like that, in the South. If you're corrupt, they will get you and put you in jail. So.
I think like I have been interested in looking into the history of like South Korea and that sort of thing, because like occasionally when I'm in like other Discord servers and just talking about my politics as it were, sometimes there'll be someone that comes in, North Korea, explain that. I'm like, what, like Cuba, Vietnam, and it's just like explain that. It's like, okay, I'm not advocating for those things. It's just like I don't know about North Korea because like there's propaganda both sides, as it were, because there's North Korea state once has their own propaganda, how great they are, and then there's like also like a lot of propaganda in the U.S. media about how terrible North Korea is, not without any like merit or something like that. But I can't like I need more accurate information in order to like shift through all of that muck and then actually give an informed opinion on North Korea. So I won't give an opinion on North Korea because I don't know. I need to learn more. And Cuba and Vietnam, I'm an anarchist. I'm not a state socialist or state capitalist. That's one thing. However, put a gun to my head, the poorest like Vietnamese person, the poorest like Cuban in those countries seem to at least have more basic necessities than like the poorest American or the poorest like United Stateser in the United States of America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess North Korea is kind of it's in its own class of like country because it's just like there's like nothing like it on Earth. It's like this like it's hard to describe it. It's like if 1984 and like a feudal society was combined into one thing.
Yeah.
There's like hardly any technology outside of like the for the average person to use. It's like they're still stuck like 50 years ago, and probably what the average person has to work with. Because people have escaped from there. I think I got a clip and gone to live in the South, and they kind of tell you like what it's like. And there have been like some documentaries that have gone there and sort of given you an idea like how it is, as well. And then you've got like the Kim family basically just like passing it through the family, the leadership that is. And they just are so closed off from the outside world because like whereas where Cuba and like Vietnam and some of the other communist countries that are still around, maybe like Laos, if that's still communist, but they are open to.
Is it actually, or is it just so?
I thought it was, wasn't it?
It's hard to tell with these things.
Maybe Cambodia, or I don't know, but
no, I'm just saying it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Is a place actually communist, or is the US just call
but
it
like the right wing like anti-capitalist version of that we have is what people think it is, but anyway, the surviving like Cold War states that are still there, they're open societies more or less. You can travel there, you can go.
Unitary Marxist Leninist one party socialist republic.
Yeah,
That's
They,
a lot of
Totally
words.
communist.
but they're not like these like repressive, like super repressive regimes like on the level of North Korea. Like they still kind of like,
Mhm.
you know, people can't like, you know, vote for their leadership and whatnot, but they at least like educate their people and don't cut them off from the internet and things like that.
Mhm.
And hello, we are joined by
Tavi the Wolfess.
Tavi Wolfess. Hello there.
Hello.
Hello to all of you. I didn't want to interrupt the conversation in progress.
No problem, no problem. Everyone,
No, good.
it's Tavi. This is my friend Tavi from like Twitch. She's the one responsible for me starting like Twitch streaming. Well, no, not started, but encouraged me to Twitch stream further. I'll place the link to her Twitch channel right there for you to check out and follow if you're interested in gaming. And Tavi, you were listening in on our conversation about like intersectionality and critical race theory and race and theories like that. Do you have like was that the topic you wanted like mention to talk about?
Well, the thing I was listening in about was so you're talking about it's how do I pronounce your name?
Tim.
Oh, it's actually pronounced
I teacher.
It's like because I used to teach on that website.
I teacher.
The same name. And they pronounce it Italki, so I usually go with that. But my name's also Tim, so you can maybe just go with that if you want to as well.
There are those who call him Tim.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry, I apologize.
No,
Maybe that's not-
just an internet alias, nothing to.
Oh, you know, Tim was talking about like the white people basically ripping off indigenous art. And you guys were talking about
Intellectual property rights.
intellectual property rights, which like thinking on that, like we say we had a totally moneyless society, we'd still want the idea of, you know, people being credited for their work, which isn't something dependent on, you know, monetary stuff. That's just it's just something that's like socially accepted as common decency.
Yeah, exactly.
A thing I've been running into mostly on Twitter with regards to race and credit. It's like part of what I was thinking, like you bring up intellectual property rights, and I was thinking about how like so there was like this whole thing where like Elvis agreed to was it Bertha? No, it wasn't Bertha Kitt. Big Mama
Bertha
Thornton.
Kitt? Oh, okay, yeah.
One of the earliest progenitors of rock and roll. Yeah.
Cover Big Mama Thornton's You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog.
Oh, yes.
And then I did do my research back, and so like apparently there was like an actual agreement there, and yada. But the way society gets, because society has an implicit white supremacist bias that, you know, explicit. That's it. Yay, grammar. Has an explicit white.
Well, no, I was just being kind of joking about it. It's yeah.
So like even among people that might think of themselves as not being racist, or maybe even think of themselves as being anti-racist, there's always work to be done to you know, remove the bias. Well, people think of Elvis because, you know, pretty white boy face. They don't really think of Big Mama Thornton when they think of Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog.
Yeah.
There's something I was been watching in activist communities. Partially something that happened in disability in autistic communities. And then it happened in response to something I posted. So I'm not going to drag the person's name into it because that conversation was being handled by other people. So like somebody did a great big a larger left-leaning account did a thread on dual power.
Oh yeah.
So I saw that and I was like, oh, cool. So I jumped in with, hey, yeah, that's cool. Have you ever talked to the Black Socialists of America? That's where I learned about dual power from.
They're awesome.
They are fucking awesome. If anybody doesn't know about the Black Socialists of America, check them out. Like, you can look them up on Twitter. I think you might be able to Google them. They've got one hell of a hacking website, all kinds of stuff about dual power, direct action, creating community-based power. That's where I learned about movements like Cooperation Jackson, about just so much labor and workers' rights, amazing stuff, and they have like a whole library of online leftist literature you can just read on their website.
I put the link in the chat, and so did like the John as well.
And apparently, it's Black socialists in America.
In America.
Okay.
Which, actually, I can really see the difference that preposition makes. Because it's hard to be both black and of America rather than in America.
Which is why a lot of times they spell America with 3 Ks in it.
Yes.
I see both a lot of black and indigenous people spelling America with 3 Ks in it, and spelling Canada as well. Any rate, so the Black socialists in America came in and they said, "Oh yeah, that's cool. Actually, we told this guy about dual power, like, you know, a couple of years ago, or one of our comrades did, and we think it's kind of funny that he did this whole thread and linked this whole. There was like a Google Doc for a bunch of resources about dual power, and we didn't get mentioned." And then I was like, oh. So like I went back and it was like I apologize. I'm sorry if I stepped into like something I didn't know was the thing. And I will just get out of the way and let you have that conversation. And the BSA was like, oh no, you're cool, because you were just plugging us. But yeah, so it is kind of, you know, funny not to be credited with that education. And following that, I stayed out of the conversation because I said I would, and then I just kind of followed it. And the BSA was like the person came back and was like, "Wait, what? I have a lot of respect for you and but I don't know what this is all about." The BSA actually like had a screenshot back 2019. Hey, look, this is where we can actually you actually say, hey, what's dual power on Twitter, and then you get pointed to us.
And so that's so like the point is like there is a lot of this thing about like giving this admiration and like credit to like artists and all this sort of thing. One thing we have to dismantle as well. It was the big thing is the white supremacist, cis, hetero, patriarchal, ableist society that we live, imperialist and social and settler colonialist society.
Just call it the hierarchy. It's a lot shorter.
The hierarchy. I forget about the hierarchy, where it's just like we are somehow always default to like credit the white person for nothing but a hound dog, as opposed to the original like artist that was created before. It's because sometimes it is the white artists of Elvis that will popularize it, and who knows about like black artists. Led Zeppelin did the same thing, where they take blues songs and did their own thing, and people know of like the Led Zeppelin version of those things, and not of the original blues artists that like come up with those songs as well.
That was a lot of music, like where people covered and it wasn't famous before, but then they made it famous by covering it, so they think it's like their song, even though it's not originally anyway.
And that was kind of what was being looked at here in you know, a more activist space, because like the account that I was responding to was like a big account. Was a Jewish person, although a white Jewish person.
A big gay count. Sorry.
Is that what I said? I'm sorry.
No, you said a big account, but you know it can sound like a big gay count.
Oh no.
John Brock's being silly.
This is just kind of account that
I a big follower account, right? Yeah.
Because they tend to like just post when protests are going on in different areas, and then I go okay, and then I can go look it up from there. But it is that thing, like say you're a big account and you're a big white account with you're a white person with a big account with like 150 something odd followers, and you do this whole thing talking to people about an important concept like dual power, and you may be the name remembered when people say, yeah, I learned about dual power from this person. But there is this thing in all of our spaces, including our activist spaces, where we like to, toot our horns about being, hey, we're anti-racist. Well, okay, how anti-racist are we? That, like, the BSA had said, hey, look, we had helped educate you about this, and it would have been nice to have been mentioned. And he got defensive about it initially. He eventually kind of went back on that. But that is a thing. You see like this happened with something that happened in the autistic community. An indigenous woman had written about something, and then somebody else wrote about it, and it really did look like they had at least seen this in the work of the indigenous woman. Was autistic typing. There's a whole thing going on there still. And they got all defensive when she mentioned it. And the thing is like, okay, so maybe there wasn't, direct copy pasta plagiarism going on. But there is a thing, and I see a lot of Black and Indigenous and Latinx and otherwise accounts mentioning how they will do all this work of education, and they will educate the heck out of white people. And then the white people will just conveniently forget where they learned about all these important leftist ideas from, like dual power. I've learned a lot, say, from a lot of what I've learned about various like personal organizing and equipment and organizing for protests in, shall we say, hostile territory. I've learned from reading stuff that was put together by the Indigenous Anarchist Federation. There's a whole shit ton of cool stuff over on that website. A lot of what I've learned about police and prison abolition, you check out like MPD 150 and 8 Abolition. A lot of that is the stuff that they cite, and the writings on there is Black led literature that dates back several decades. But then you see it, and you see it with like a lot of you're like nobody cares if I'm an asshole about BreadTube, right?
No, we are critical of BreadTube here too.
So you see it with like your BreadTube stuff with your white people on BreadTube, and you get all these leftists or young white people coming to that from no other background, and they basically go, yeah, I'm a fan of so and so, white celebrity on BreadTube, and
like Christy Winters.
Yeah, I have no fucking clue who that is.
It's okay.
She's not a leftist. She's a liberal.
Okay.
But Vosh,
we kind of wish we didn't know either at this point, but anyway, I do anyway.
It is, but anyway, they would be go like, oh yeah, I'm a fan of like Vosh, I'm a fan of like this person, something like that, and you're just like, are you actually going to like do the work or join in protests or organization, do mutual aid, that sort of thing? It's like, what's the kind of like future that you want? As it were.
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, and like you was talking about like doing the work. I've been doing a lot of thinking, like paying attention to people, because a lot of people talk, join the protest or anything, and the protests and stuff aren't necessarily accessible to a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly.
That is true.
But what I see in these same conversations where like this thing of Black and Indigenous POC people of color do all this hecking work to educate white people, and then the white people go and absorb the ideas, and then they conveniently forget where they learned them, and then they go off and talk to, and they educate other white people as if it's just some amazing thing that they know about somehow from some nebulous who knows where.
This reminds me of that Twin Rabbit video I still haven't like watched yet, of Soul and Anarchy, where it's like a lot of ideas that like Pierre Joseph Proudhon, Karl Marx, and all these other people, and like they came from like indigenous societies that already had those. They were practicing those ideas already. That like didn't have to like come up with this whole other like thing. So I gotta find that Twin Rabbit video and like I'll post it into the chat, because we kind of like. But it's another thing of like white people taking all the credit, or white people getting accredited for the coming up with the ideas.
But But which is what I was going to say when you're talking about like, you know, doing the work, like are the Vlashites going to do any actual work of a revolution or yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I see said by Black, Indigenous, Latinx, Asian, etc. accounts is the work they want to see white people doing is dismantling white supremacy, and that involves a lot of actively having conversations with other white people and challenging them.
Yeah, I do agree.
Which doesn't necessarily mean, you know, doing like the door-to-door canvassing or doing the protesting or etc. It means like wherever you're in spaces with other white people, because if you're white, you're in spaces with other white people.
Yeah.
And they say like coded racism and shit. One, call the shit out.
Yeah.
Two, go and explain what the hell it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy conversations to have, but like this thing that I saw where it's like people will take their education that they got from Black and Indigenous people and then run with it and not really say where they got it from.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of that needs dismantling and like more active awareness. Like if you learn something from a Black person, Indigenous person, remember that, and then when you're talking about it later, credit them with that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was that whole thing. The wolf wanted to babble up. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah, that's because I've heard that before too. Like where especially online left, where you know they heard an idea for somebody and then they like a white streamer on whatever platform, and you know then credit the person you know who told them anyway. Maybe they didn't originate it, but they you know got it from that other person. But but I've heard some people Black and just you know activists whatever sorry, some of them like some care and some don't care. Is what I find is some are just happy that it's getting out there so they can accomplish their goal. Yeah, like you can see like how maybe some people wouldn't give a shit, right? Like, oh, I didn't get credit for this, you know, for educating this person or I'm just trying to like get my you know social justice goal completed. But I can understand people would want you know credit, because I know how teachers are. And when people they're especially when I was in game you know, doing it in Korea, there was like a lot of people didn't want people using their like lesson plans and whatever else that they created on their own kind of thing. And there were things that I made that you know we would share with people and say like you know like don't monetize it or whatever. So you know I find that's usually a lot of what when it's just driven over like who made something. It's like you know usually money, but not always, but sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, also what I see from the people bringing this up, like say like the BSA bringing up they were also kind of pointing out like, hey, you seem like you're just you know aggrandizing for you and putting all the focus on you, and then I was thinking about it and going, there isn't a name on the Black Socialists in America account, like a personal individual name. And everything in their whole concept and all their ideas, very, very much so community stress. Everything like I pick up from Indigenous Anarchist Federation, same deal, very community stressed over individual stressed. So it's like I think more like what they're getting at with this is more the not so much like the individual credit as this broader cultural issue of whiteness co-opting stuff that did not come from whiteness.
Well, and on top of that, there's also the when you have when we represent those ideas, there are a better chance of us forgetting the intricacies that are specific to the other minority groups that, reproducing like a socialism that isn't as kind to minorities because we are putting it through the filter of our experiences.
Oh yeah,
you must.
And that's a thing as well. And there's another the thing. Part of the white supremacy that we have to dismantle. People seem to like be more willing to listen to other white people. Seem to be more willing to listen to other white people, but when they hear from like people of color or indigenous people, sometimes they can be accusing the others of home policing, as it were, and do that sort of thing. So yeah, that's another thing we have to like dismantle it too as well.
And when you do repeat the things you've learned from brown people, they treat you as brilliant, your fellow white people. Like this past Thursday, I was hanging out with liberals just going off on systemic causes and shit, and somebody said, you should run for office. I'm like, I'm an autistic, atheist, anarchist, alcoholic. There's no way I could win office in South Carolina.
People like because this is the thing I do at work. I should call out like the racism I see at work. Like last year, I did hear someone call it the Kung flu. I really should have called that person out before. I did have like a supervisor who said like, "Oh, I don't want to say the word, but I'll say the word, the N word, saying the actual word." And next to him was my lead, who's a person of color, Hispanic though, but he felt uncomfortable at that. But like, oh, Trump supporter, the absolute Trump supporter too. That man.
I am shocked.
Oh, and he also didn't want his children to get vaccines because it causes autism. When another coworker of mine is on the spectrum, it's just like he never like mentions that much anyway. But just like it's
his boss, he grew up outside of the city and moved into the city. Yeah. I'm saying that he's from the white supremacist countryside that is the Pacific Northwest.
Possibly, but it's Seattle, it's like a 50-50, but like you never know. I forgot to ask, honestly. What was my point of going? Oh, yeah, okay. So at work, I used going off of what you said, John Brockman, that people telling you should run for office. I go like when people ask me, "Oh, Jonathan, how are you doing?" I say, "I'm still thinking about the best diversity attack this orange to dismantle the white supremacist, sexual, patriarchal, ableist, colonialist, like imperialist capitalism, and the state that upholds that, and how to bring about the socialist communist workers revolution, as it were."
I just meant, did you get laid over the weekend, man?
But based on those conversations, people are like, no, you should run for office. I'm an anarchist. I have if I run for office, they will find my social media post where I say kill all landlords as a joke. It was a meme that I posted. The only part of that meme I disagree with is just like, I'm not a Maoist. Mao has some, I agree with Maoist on the sentiment about landlords, not his actions.
Just need them to not be landlords.
Exactly.
Kill landlordism.
Yes.
Which might involve the deaths of some landlords, depending on how violently they respond.
In which case, then, is self-defense, and we try our best to just like just protect ourselves in self-defense, as evictions is violence.
Shoplifting is also self-defense.
There is. I do want to promote someone that I watch on Twitch who's might be the only housing advocate on their period. Her name is Amy C3. And she's not, I wouldn't call her small, but she's about 200 viewers usually concurrently, but yeah, but she's one of the few people I see talk about it like in as much depth as it probably needs to be talked about.
Okay. All right, I'll check that out. So, what's everyone else has been up to, as it were? Just like regularly speaking, like new games and looking forward to things to like watch the fun.
I've been playing Breath of the Wild a lot.
Nice.
My brother bought a Switch.
Oh, Ellie, you're muted.
Ellie, you're muted.
You're muted somehow, Ellie.
I didn't do it.
Okay.
I finally talked to my doctor about being trans.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how did that go? Because
good, bad, happy, sad.
I almost fainted, but she agreed that my problems were probably gender dysphoria. So, but it's a long road still, because our system in Denmark is kind of not so nice, and and takes a long time. But I'm really happy that she believed me and she didn't push back, because that was what I was afraid of, that she would just say, oh, you're disabled, just don't bother. And so I'm really
But
happy.
instead, she just said, "Okay, let's work on this."
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good.
Back a little bit, but it was just like health related things. And she also asked me, what if they won't take you? And then I'm like, yeah, but then I'm just the way I am, and I'm still transgender, and people will just have to deal with how I look.
I have still lost nothing.
Yeah, I have still lost nothing. So
That's good. Good for you.
Yeah.
I have not been to the doctor in a long time. I'm afraid to go, honestly. Well, no. I'm more afraid to go to the dentist because, like, I have to find out, oh yeah, you have been to the dentist in years. You need to replace all those teeth with crowns, and here's the bill for that. It's just like, how can I pay for this? Put it off for a while, as much as I can, I guess.
Jonathan,
Yes.
I am in that last rant of yours, and I do not like it.
me too.
I did not give you permission to represent me.
It's also expensive too, right? It can be anyway.
It
Yeah,
can be.
definitely.
But
I even had I'm trying to remember, for example, I think to get all four of my wisdom teeth pulled in general, I think it was a total about $1,000, but I did have insurance at the time to pay for most of it though. But still, you still have to cover some of the costs even if you have insurance.
Even if you have good insurance, what do you call it? I'm as an employee of the state, I was able to get on a good plan, and it's still rough.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like dentistry should be free because it's so important for your overall health.
yeah, it should be. Yeah, definitely. I'm on a good plan because I also work for the state, where I am. And I can put my family members on it. Once the baby comes all, and it has teeth later on, then we'll put it on there too.
Mm-hmm.
But they cover a lot of things then. But I might have to change dentists because the one I went to last, they forgot to charge me for a bite plate, and I'm scared to go back because they're probably gonna want all the money for it probably. And it could be, I don't know. So I might look for a new one next time I need a cleaning or something like that. But
Tavi, you probably weren't here for the beginning part of the stream, but we also talk about a study about autistic morality, as it were. Do you have any comments about moral, the kind of morality that autistic people have compared to allistic people?
That I'm not really sure how much I can comment on because I've been spending the last couple of months learning about it, and there are people who've written more about it and studied it longer than I have.
Okay.
We tend to be a bit more moralistic, a bit more rigid in
it.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the most I can say is in part of figuring out I was autistic was learning about that and remembering things like the number of times minor content warning for parental emotional abuse trauma.
Oh yes.
I won't go into it long. The number of times my parents would shout at me about how I was, quote, on my moralistic bullshit, unquote. And this had to do with things like I didn't want to participate in Boy Scouts. And this was, I hadn't even figured out gender stuff then. I just didn't want to participate in Boy Scouts because they were anti-gay.
Yeah.
And that was moralistic bullshit. And then I eventually decided I didn't want to participate in Christianity anymore. And this was still mostly about it being anti-gay. But then I was starting at the time as a teenager to put together things like, hey, all these, missions you go off on, you basically go to other countries and tell them that their entire belief systems are wrong and they should feel bad about it. That seems morally not good.
Come to
But we
Christianity,
should do
have
that
cookies.
to Christians.
Right. And I mean that was as far as I had processed it. This was teenage me. It's like I was like 16, I think, and that became a whole great big shouting match with my parent. And again, this wasn't something they felt. Well, they put it, quote, my moralistic bullshit. And I ran into this when I was like with other kids at school. I ran it into teachers where they felt I was too stiff about my morals and too inflexible about them. And this had to do with things like, being very adamant about, gay marriage was totally cool, because back in like the early 2000s, that was the conversation. I didn't even know about trans rights then.
Trans rights, by the way, just as always.
Trans rights are human rights.
Indeed.
Trans rights, or this wolf will eat you.
Yes, exactly.
Wait, what? Also, this wolf is trans. Hi.
You going to recognize trans rights, or I'm going to identify as a fucking problem?
I'm a fucking problem. Without the fucking part, but anyway. And like the other one was that was like the period of the Iraq War, and I would get threats from other students for saying things like, what's happening at Abu Ghraib is fucking horrible, and there should be consequences.
You from the South?
No.
Wait, it wasn't just the South that was against. During that time, everyone was pretty rah-rah America all over.
Over ever since.
Yeah, that's the era that gave us Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris. I mean,
for your reference, John Brockman.
Yeah.
I went to high school in a very white, rural, the kind of town in Connecticut that I had a, quote, historical district.
Are we talking, let's see, something like Danbury, Groton?
in the same county, Hartford County.
Okay.
Where people would,
worse, outside the capital. Oof.
Yeah, where like eventually I ended up moving back there, and like the way I managed to get an apartment when Kitten and I moved back there after all kinds of stuff, and this was like 2013, was the landlady I finally found who was willing to rent to me because this is before I came out as trans, like years before. So she thought I was a good Christian boy because she remembered me from church for being like first an acolyte, and then what they call a crucifer, which is somebody who carries a cross at a procession. And then there was like all kinds of other work I used to do when I was still an active member of church. And that was her entire memory of me. And that was why she decided to rent to me. So I just kept my mouth shut and let her do it because Kitten and I were desperate to.
So let's see, was it an Episcopalian community or a Catholic community?
I was raised Episcopalian. The landlady I'm talking about was Catholic. So it was both. It was like mixed. Yeah. So they had like a
that's
quote,
New England.
Okay, they had a quote unquote interfaith council in the town, and interfaith meant the Episcopal, the Baptist, and not the Black Baptist Church. So there's two
First
Baptist.
Baptist.
There were two. There was like it actually was one of the white Baptist church was called the First Baptist something or other. And then there was the Congregationalists, which I later learned Congregationalists I believe are basically
Puritans.
The Reformation of the Puritans. So there's the Congregationalist church, there was the Baptist church, and the Episcopal church, and the Catholic church, and they were all part of the Interfaith Council. And the
Black church wasn't.
I learned about the Black church 1 year when I was in high school, when they decided that all the high school aged kids should go visit the Black Baptist church, which was out of the way, down a road that we'd never driven down before, hidden way back in the woods, out of sight, out of mind, tiny little cramped place. And where we went to the Black church, and we heard them talk about Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement for
so this
Martin
was in
Luther King
February.
Day. Yes.
So this was like, oh, that was all spurred from white guilt then.
Right. And like I remember at the time, and this is like teenager me with no education on these things, like asking my parents, like, how come there's a black church and a white church? Why don't we all just go to the same church? I thought we're supposed to all be Christians. We're supposed to all be equal in Jesus's love, right? Right. That's what I thought. And no. So their explanation for it is, oh, but they just have so many traditions that are different, and they just like to do things differently, and that's why they do it.
I mean, like the Episcopal churches is basically like the Anglican Church of England in America,
Correct.
right? More or less.
Correct.
Okay.
It is the Anglican Church of England, or yeah, the U.S. version.
They're Catholic light.
Yes, it is very much so Catholic light. Like you can go between a Episcopal church and a Catholic church, and the primary difference is that at communion, the Episcopal church says all baptized Christians are welcome to participate in communion. Catholic church says all baptized Catholics are welcome to participate in communion.
I don't know. I participated in a Catholic communion once, and I'm not Catholic. The priest didn't have a problem.
They don't check, but they say it.
They don't. Yes.
It was at my. I think it was my nephew's christening.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't.
But they say it in the ceremony, and otherwise.
So they just assume you're Catholic if you walk through the door, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they dust your forehead to see if there's still ashes there.
Yeah. So it's like I, because of being in Boy Scouts and then being pushed through all these like different Christian-based programs to learn about different, Christian denominations and stuff, bounced around in between, the churches, in like I got to go to the Baptist church and the Catholic church, and yeah, pretty much the liturgy and all the ceremonies and stuff are all the same. It's all the same shit.
The difference is that one group stops at Baptist, the other goes all the way up to Pope.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, the difference
say Baptist?
is
I meant Bishop.
The large. I mean, okay, so there are like the theological differences because I started getting taught about those because I was interested, and after a while I realized, wait a minute, all this theological different stuff, the only people that know about it, the only people that care are the priests who go to seminary.
Yeah. Yes.
Ordinary people don't know and don't give a shit, and it has no impact on the regular parishioners. But they make a big fucking deal out of it.
These beliefs are very important to me.
It's all about team sports, honestly. It's all about team sports. It's a Catholic Crusaders and like the Baptist like Marauders, or and it's just like it's all team sports as well. Because like my dad was a Protestant, but then to get married to my mother, switched to Catholic, and so he's still Catholic now because my stepmom's also Catholic, and so he says that he's a Christian currently practicing as a Catholic. And I hate the wine church. I hate the wine church. I didn't drink for a long time because of that. But like, it's just like it's teeny tiny little differences. And can we just look at the big similarities with all the other Abrahamic religions as it were? Come on, love thy neighbor.
I honestly wonder if that put me off red wine. Like, white wine's great.
I do like white wine.
The red wine gives me migraines, so I have an excuse.
All the wars that, like, just the Protestant and Catholic dynamic has caused over the last 500 years or whatever it is now since Protestantism came along. But like a lot,
To quote Tom Lehrer, oh, the Protestants hate the Catholics, and the Catholics hate the Protestants, and the Hindus hate the Muslims, and everyone hates the Jews.
But in National Brotherhood Week, we should all get along.
But the Vatican route is very accurate. 2, 4, 6, 8 times. So get down on your knees and fiddle with your rosaries and bow your head with great respect. And Jimmy Fluck. And Linda Arnold's not here, so she's not going to yell at me for singing.
But I will mute.
She's the resident music critic in this group of people.
Well, the problem is that Jonathan can't carry a tune in a bucket, so.
And I know that. I know that because I was told explicitly not to sing when I was in a fun thing happened on the way to the forum. Even though I was just an extra. I was the one of the eunuchs. because, well, I cannot carry a tune in the bucket whatsoever at all. What I make up for is in energy and exuberance. Go ahead, Tabby.
He could probably carry a tune in the bucket, but he's just bad at maintenance. There's a hole in the bucket. The cork is too long. The knife isn't sharp. The wheat stone's dry.
No, it's just amusing me that when you mentioned you were playing the eunuchs, one of the eunuchs, my first thought was, so Jonathan got to play a gender non-conforming role in a school play.
Except that the eunuch is something forced on you by the hierarchy.
Society, yeah.
My God, I just realized this now.
What?
I did play in like a gender non-conforming like a role in like a high school, and how come I didn't realize until like 3 years ago that I'm non-binary?
Jonathan?
Yes.
You know when I started playing girls in certain online role-playing communities?
Oh, I just like to look at like a girl butt instead of a man butt.
Well, this was a little further than that because it was intimate role-playing.
Oh yeah, tabletop as well.
Oh, so it was Vampire the Masquerade?
Not exactly tabletop.
Oh.
At any rate, 2004, and that was when I first started using the name Tabby, and I didn't figure out I was trans until 2020.
Yep. Cheers to that. So anyway, we covered a lot of topics today. Anyone else got like something on their minds?
Oh, what do you call it? Tabby reminded me of something. I actually changed the charities that my sister supported when I shared a Illuminati video with her about Autism Speaks. She has a autistic son, and she was a big supporter of that organization until things were pointed out about that organization to her by me. So
Autism Speaks is utter shit. Autism parents speaking not about their children.
Autism, yeah, exactly. It's just like, oh, how hard it is to be an autistic parent. It's just like, really,
it's a whole bunch of Karen moms. Okay, I mean,
on that particular note, in terms of autistic advocacy, I kind of plug something that's going on.
Sure.
If you huge content warnings for torture on the level that has actually been looked at by
I know.
By the United, it has actually been called torture and human rights abuses by the United Nations,
and now it's legal again. Yay!
They never stopped. So even when it was banned, they didn't stop because the ban gave them time to quote get people off the program instead of just saying stop now.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's their religious freedom or some shit, so they do it anyway.
No, it's they don't even bother with that. It's a medical treatment.
Mm-hmm. Stop the shock.
Insert a sarcasm tag for what Tabby just said.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. But if people check out, particularly on Twitter, hashtag stop the shock. A lot of autistic people are talking about right now about the use of what they call adversives, and they're using they're using electricity to torture autistic people.
Yes. Exactly.
Oh, so gross.
Particularly at this one place called the Justice Rottenberg Center in Massachusetts. There, if you check out the hashtag and other things, there are like a number of action items being asked for. Largely, it has to do with contacting lawmakers in Massachusetts to get them to intercede there. What happened with the ban is there's a whole bunch of other weird stuff that happened with that apparently these devices weren't supposed to be approved in the first place.
That's against disabled people. Who
that's
cares?
that autistic science person, very good person. They are very, I believe autistic science persons, they them. They're very, very good person to check out for this. Huge content warnings for it's what's going on is physical torture. There's I think you got the like the Google Doc of the various
action items.
There's a lot of autistic people are trying to get attention on that, trying to get hashtag stop the shock to trend, get people to write to their legislatures and other people. What happened with the FDA thing was the district court in a 2-1 ruling, it was a 3-judge court, argued that the FDA didn't have the right to regulate medicine, and say what treatments were completely banned. That was what that court said.
Isn't that what the D and FDA?
No, that stands for drugs, not necessarily medical devices. So obviously that court can go fuck itself.
Drugs to be used.
The argument is that they keep an approval list and stuff, and then people can say, well, this isn't approved by the FDA, but we can do it anyway, like all the supplement stuff on the shelf.
Yeah.
That was their argument. So likely other methods are going to be needed to stop this. Ultimately, I will say I've kind of talked about this with some other autistic advocates, particularly what is her name? Cora. She has a Cora avatar. It's a Black autistic advocate. It's kind of bringing up like, hey, this whole psychiatry system that we use for autistic people, it's white supremacist from the very core. The whole thing should just be abolished and completely start over.
I agree.
I write cool stuff, no spaces, on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Is it she, her? No, they, them. I'm sorry. They, them. They. They are hashtag gender neutral. And
I just put their Twitter into the live chat.
I was remembering they were in a conversation with another autistic advocate, kind of just pointing out there's a lot of anti-blackness and a lot of inherent white supremacy in the way autistic people are treated and the way autism is treated. And it would be really good if just the whole system was abolished, because I was in that conversation. Is so maybe kind of like what police and prison abolition is calling for. Completely get rid of the old system, build a new system.
Man, white supremacy has affected so many things in society.
Oh, I could go off.
No, that's critical race theory. Stop that.
I could go fucking off with white supremacy and psychiatry and Google search who invented the idea of normalcy or the concept of normalcy.
That was during the conversation about autistic morality as well. I think that was already mentioned, and I did actually link that thing. The who invented the concept of normality, and it's up earlier in chat. I'll copy pasta it, and it should work as it were again. Because that's
from
a whole
LitHub.
thing. Yeah, from LitHub. Yeah.
But anyway, kind of just what I was getting to is I kind of agree with this idea. A lot of this needs an abolitionist approach. But what I learned from reading from 8 to Abolition and MPD 150 and other sites that talk about prison and police abolition is there's long-term goals, which is the complete abolition, and then you have short-term asks, which are the harm is being done now, we need to mitigate the harm now. And for the autistic community, this whole thing of electric shock devices is
first stop hitting us, then we'll go to the hospital for the stuff that you've done,
right?
But
yeah,
just saw this tweet from my friend Jen. Her blog is Reappropriate. She talks about Asian American Pacific Islander stuff. She's awesome. The tweet, which should be showing up in the YouTube soon enough. What neoliberal gender essentialist nonsense is this? What it is Ms. Monopoly. The first game where women make more than men. And it's got a girl boss. Literally, she's holding a coffee cup that says boss on the side. And the rules say, what's different about Ms. Monopoly? Women make more money than men at the start of the game. Board spaces are inventions by women. Set of properties purchase some of the things that wouldn't exist without the innovative women who invented them. Railroads are now ride shares. Utilities have been updated so that now we're talking about Wi-Fi and solar heating. And you build headquarters instead of houses and hotels.
Jesus Christ.
Would this be a good time to mention how Monopoly was actively ripped off from a game called The Landlord's Game, which was made by a woman who I need to go look up the name of.
Yep.
To talk about
it was also intended to criticize capitalism, not valorize it, glorify it.
God, there's a lot of things like
Lizzie
that
Maggie.
people don't realize.
Lizzie Maggie was her name, who made the Landlord game.
And it was designed to be a just a teaching aid, and apparently the original wasn't fun. Like it just was not a fun game.
It's still not a fun game.
Yeah.
Everyone always end up fighting.
What was it created? Like the Landlord game?
Yeah, that was its original.
Lizzie Mackey was the creator of the Landlord game. Lizzie Mackey.
Like when though? Like what?
Oh, 1900s, like during the century, something like that.
I thought it'd be like a long time ago because Monopoly is really, really old too, right?
It was in 1904 by Elizabeth Maggie, U.S. patent 748,2626.
Oh, she patented it. Okay, interesting.
I mean, it's clearly a monopoly. You know, it's got the bank, it's got wages, and things like that.
I wonder if she tried to sue them more. Maybe she was already.
I think they bought the rights to the game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So they I guess they consider at least that's better than not doing so.
It's just sad that they completely subverted the.
Yeah, I know.
The thing of her creation, the point.
That's sort of like a reverse Starship Troopers, where the people that actually made the movie made a satire of the guy's actual book.
Oh yeah. I never read the book. I'm not sure if I'm ever going to be interested.
No, it's basically it's like full on endorsement of fascism, basically.
It's like I forgot the guy's name, but he wrote the Strangers.
Robert L.
Heinlein.
Heinlein, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Again, one of my other conservative coworkers said, "Oh, since you were like a libertarian, you should read like a Heinlein." And it's just like, yeah, the guy had some terrible ideas as well. Is a word, but the director's name, who also directed RoboCop,
it's Paul Verhoeven. That's his name.
Paul Verhoeven, yeah. Our friend that we had on before, Hank, of Culture Shots, he loves Paul Verhoeven. Well,
I do too. Yeah, he's one of my favorite directors.
Hank loves Paul Verhoeven because he's also Dutch, so there's something there.
30 seconds to comply.
I think like Verhoeven, yeah, I guess that's a Dutch name for sure. Yeah, yeah, he's just done like a lot of like anti-capitalism and consumerism work,
anti-fascism.
Yeah,
because I love that. Like
a lot of sci-fi movies from the 80s were like anti-capitalism. Look at Alien and Aliens, anyway. What this evil company is.
Blade Runner.
Yep.
Yeah.
And of course, that was also the era of the early stuff in your head equipment.
Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk. There we go. Yes.
Philip K. Dick and all that.
I mean, a lot of the early stuff was in the 60s and 70s, but Cyberpunk really came into its own as a genre, I think, in the early 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
The original Monopoly, or Landlord game, had two different rule sets. One that was a monopolist, the other one was socialist.
I actually played a version of that they put out in the early 90s, I want to say, that was called Anti-Monopoly, and it had the two different rule sets where you played as either a monopolist or an anti-monopolist. And the only thing was not only was it asymmetrical, but as an anti-monopolist, you didn't win the game by by bankrupting everybody, but just by bankrupting all of the monopolists.
But yeah,
All right.
Monopoly was never a fun game.
Yeah, I don't think it's like ever a fun game. Let's see. I want to do something. Here we go. Notifications.
It's a very good way of starting a huge argument.
All right. So yes. There's that one. I want to share a sound as well. And thanks for being clipped. So I'm now sharing. Arson, you're going to be blamed for this because this is something that she shared on my Twitch stream last night. So I still have to do one thing. I have to make sure that YouTube is unmuted and I muted the stream. So enjoy.
Do you know Nahi?
Sorry about that.
Uh-oh.
But you do. Oh, there it is.
Music start!
I judge you, Jonathan.
Poor pianist in the back. She's not sure why she's still there.
Yeah, she's not doing anything. She's just
She's reacting.
I went to Juilliard, you motherfucker.
probably did too.
Yeah, I deeply feel the feelings of the pianist there.
You're not paying me enough, motherfucker.
All because Arson shared it with me, I felt others must suffer with me.
I'm just curious if that's weirder or less weird if you actually know the language.
I don't know the language, so I can't
Japan,
comment.
isn't it though? Like I don't know.
Yeah, that was Japanese because
Yeah.
apparently I think one of the composers for Final Fantasy 14. Yeah, so
Oh, is that who that is? Okay.
yeah. Yeah, and so that everyone else can share it around with their friends as it happened to me. There's a link to the video as well, so you can tell people to check it out as well. So yeah, that was that.
That sure was a thing.
Yes,
that you shared with us.
You're off the podcast.
I was just thinking, like, I don't know if you guys remember this from a few years ago, because there was like the tiger mom person with that kind of, that's just popped in my head for some reason. The pianist, because that woman was Asian too, but Chinese in America, and she was talking about like how she treated her daughters like, like they like in the military, so they would be like pianists. They went to Juilliard and played at like Carnegie Hall and things like that. So I wonder if she had a tiger mom or not, that pianist. But.
Oh, God, I misheard you and was very confused.
Yeah, like, folks, don't treat your children like tiger mom, because that's like probably like child abuse now anyway. But so
yeah.
See, according to the Volatile Mermaid on Twitter, at Oh No She Twittened, Sarah Palin is trending, so I guess her kids, trig, track, shop, JV soccer, and homeroom, must have gotten in another drunken snowmobile accident.
I forgot Sarah Palin was the thing.
I'd be impressed if it was a snowmobile accident in the weather they've been having in Canada lately.
Well,
there
was a town on BC that basically just like lit on fire, like out of nowhere, because of climate change and probably
it's summer in Alaska, so it was probably like a jellyfish fight or something.
Yeah,
forest fires are like really bad on the West Coast.
They are
all the way up, like in California, like and all the way up to like probably Alaska too. But
yeah.
I feel like Lauren Boebert is like Lauren Boebert is like the new Sarah Palin kind of stand-in, because they look alike, and they kind of like have the same kind of crazy ideas about everything, but she hasn't kind of like risen to that level quite yet, I find. But
I just don't know about like the politicians that we have. Yeah, it's just the whole thing. So anyway,
I'm waiting for someone to make like a similar parody that's like the pornographic parody that they made of Sarah Palin. I'm waiting for someone to do that for Boebert.
No.
Pretty sure she's already starred in her own homemade porno. It's just
probably.
I know that. What Wolf is saying no, because Wolf just like can no to the. How do I want to phrase this? Jonathan, do you know what I'm getting at? My brain isn't working.
Stop like thinking about like wanting like more sexual gratification materially, like maybe based off of like politicians and people in public spaces or something like that.
I mean, women in general. They're fucking horrible people, but the whole
sexualization,
yes,
othering,
very much so. I can say that's a patriarchy thing.
Yes, it is.
I mean, like, the whole reason why the right is so obsessed with AOC is basically because they all want to like, because they all like find her attractive. Probably, a lot of people think that's what drives it. Their obsession with her.
What's that the one Sigmund Freud's things as it were? It's just like the reason why like that boy punches like the girl on the playground is because like that boy is attracted to that girl, but because girl have cooties and like he can't admit that as it were, and so it's kind of like. So no matter what, the boys are just always attracted to the girls as it were. Which this is Sigmund Freud, so he just like thinks the weird things anyway. Just like no matter what your dream does, you want to have sex with your mother.
It more, I'd say, like with talk AOC or just in general, this thing where this creepy right wing thing, but you see Democrats doing it too.
Democrats are right.
You see a lot of self-proclaimed white leftists do it a lot too. Of the what they're really going off about is they see women in very, very specific roles, and then when women step outside of those roles, the sexualization and other things are part of the mechanism to try to push them back into those roles.
Yeah.
basically the whole thing of I've seen it was like earlier this morning. There's like somebody was sharing a bunch of TikToks, leftist TikToks.
My friends kept
explaining how about making they called it a gender accelerationist argument that being a lesbian, not being in relationships with men is inherently gender non-conforming. Not to say anything about talking more about this, the capitalist white supremacist patriarchal concept of gender roles, and part of that being women are supposed to provide men with unpaid reproductive labor, not reproductive labor as in the full concept of reproductive labor being taking care of the home, taking care of children, not it's a whole concept anybody can look up. It's not I hear the word before I learned it's like reproductive labor. Does that mean having kids? No, it means all the
work
different
that goes into raising them
and also
everything from sex to age 20.
I was gonna say, does that also include sexual gratification?
I'm not as sure
really?
about that. I haven't read as much of the theory. It does include things like caring for elderly people.
Oh yeah, that I can believe it. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. There's what do you call it? Having worked in healthcare as long as I have, there's a lot of that sort of expectation thing.
That falls under reproductive labor theory.
Interesting.
But yeah, the whole idea of the kind of white supremacist patriarchal idea that women's role is unpaid reproductive labor.
Yeah, exactly. Which is David Graeber, the anthropologist who Rest in Power passed away, did explain that capitalism requires patriarchy. Absolutely, it could not thrive at all. Because of that reproductive labor that it forced onto women to do, as it were, and like you said, it's the whole thing, not just making babies and raising babies, but all the housework, all the unpaid labor, the housework as well. This is something someone pointed out on Twitter too. I think it was existential comics as were. It's because CEO said, "Oh no, I do a lot of work as a CEO. You don't know how busy I am as a CEO." It's yeah, you paid a lot of maids in order to actually clean up that big mansion that you have or the other houses. You're able to pay all those people to do that. If you had to do all that work on your own as well as run the company, would you be able to do that? So stop praising yourself for how much work you do when you paid a lot of people under you to work for you.
And the other end, I would say, when talking about can I phrase it as the right-wing fetishization of AOC? Because I think that's kind of what
I've heard.
They really, yeah.
It is at this point, I think, in my mind anyway.
A combination of reinforcing patriarchal rules about women, also reinforcing white supremacist rules about brown women. I forget. I know AOC is Latina.
Yes,
she is.
Yeah, she is Latinx.
But the idea that Black Latinx people that they want to enforce this idea that the only role for them is primarily physical labor and quote what they term unskilled labor, which I think you've read something, Jonathan, from David Graeber on one of your streams about how unskilled labor is a bullshit term.
I think so, yeah. Maybe I haven't. If I haven't, then I should as well, because I'll add that to the list and find
he shows up on the Majority Report from time to time.
And I've seen
David Graeber used to show up on the Majority Report.
Yes, I think it's been maybe 6 months since he's been there last. He does come on sometimes.
David Graeber, the anthropologist, died in February, tragically at the age of 59.
Yeah, he passed.
So is this a different David Graeber than I'm thinking of? Maybe
possible.
Okay.
I was also saying there's oh damn it. There is an account I follow and I can't remember the name of it. It is, I believe, a primarily Latinx run account that's advocating for immigration rights for farm laborers. I think it's farm labor 350 or something like that. They did like a whole thing pointing out that this whole unskilled labor thing is bullshit, like showing all the different skills that you need to do the harvesting and care of all the the different crops that we eat in the grocery store all the hecking time and we just take for granted. Just showing things like how quickly like taking a knife you could easily just slice your own finger off with and it just shear off all the inedible parts of a plant and throw it on the cart and then do that again 10,000 times very fast. It's not an unskilled thing. It is a skill.
Yeah. And what do you call it? The service industry is the same way. That you will experience a lot different service from the drive-through worker that's been there 3 years from one that just started. There's definitely skills.
There's lots of systems and things you have to learn, and that make the experience smoother, if nothing else.
No, like with the like you bring up with the service industry, Joe, and the thing with AOC, like they like to attack AOC for having been a bartender. They like to do that because they like to go, oh well, that's unskilled, unintellectual labor, and
it's not rich white person.
Right, it's not rich white person labor,
or white collar jobs. That's the word. Yeah,
which is
right.
Weird because some
it's
of them
not upper class. That's all.
It's
just.
And then that also that particular attack on AOC gets blended in with these other rather sexist patriarchal attacks of sexualizing of the social aspect of the work of bartending. So yeah, like all that stuff, it comes back to reinforcing through. I think we can say it's a form of violence that this whole. Because it really, when you're on the receiving end, it's like an aggressive violation of personhood when you're on the receiving end of it.
I guess with the same token, you could say like the online left kind of does that too. Sexualizes her a lot, but not like in the same way.
It's not aggressively threatening
way.
In the same way.
Just
well. It's just putting her up on a pedestal as well.
Look how like Jimmy Dore and people like that attacked her.
Oh yeah, it's that too.
I don't know. I've never listened to anything Demi Dore has ever said, so I don't know how he attacked her.
But Jim Dore said
all on the same lines as like a lot of those right wing guys did, and it's just sort of like
not really left, is he?
So, I know,
he's
but
not.
A lot of people think he is from portraying him. He's right wing. I'm not sure what to call him. I guess he's a conservative, but of some kind. But there's like a lot of like. Those force of vote people really went after her. It's weird because I feel like they only ever attack her and not the other 4 or 5 squad members who are mostly women too, women of color at that, but still they don't really go after like Ilhan Omar or Rashid Tlaib.
Wait, you mean are we talking about white leftist men?
I guess just the force of the vote people in general. They don't seem to attack. They do
go after Ilhan Omar sometimes.
But for different things though. Like they kind of only hyper focus on her and not the other 3 or 4 congresswomen. Cori Bush I put in there too as well, but like they kind of sometimes they do. Like Cori Bush was like under attack this week by like the right wing females and stuff like that on
the squad's always going to be
Laura Ingraham and on Fox News and stuff like that. But they get like a lot less than AOC does, like because she's like the not the leader, but like just the full
Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Rashid Tlaib, Jamal Bowman,
a lot. Like I don't know about a lot.
Cori Bush.
A lot less, particularly like some of the shit I've seen thrown at Ilhan Omar, because Ilhan Omar gets shit thrown at her that is a combination of misogynist and Islamophobic thrown in together.
Yes, exactly.
They throw insults at Ilhan Omar. Like there's this horrible white right-wing meme that they constantly accusing Ilhan Omar of inappropriate relationships with her brother.
Oh yeah.
I heard that.
Which is full on an Islamophobic trope. And it's again with the trying to take away personhood and autonomy from women through sexualizing them.
Yep.
I think it's even worse for Ilhan because she did immigrate here as well. There's an extra layer to it because I think the rest of them were all born in the US, I believe.
I forget if Rashonda Tlaib is. I remember Rashonda Tlaib's mother is, or not mother, grandmother, I think it was, is in Palestine.
Yeah, she still is. Yeah, because she wanted to go visit her, and there's a hubbub about that back several months ago. But yeah, I thought they were, even Rashida was, a natural citizen, but maybe not.
I don't remember.
But yeah, but Ilhan definitely, came from Somalia, and yeah. So it's like there's like a three-dimensional hate coming at her. She's a woman, immigrant, and a person of color.
Intersectionality and hate
and
as
a
well.
Muslim. So yeah. So 4, I guess.
And I think Rashida Tlaib will get like stuff.
Ilhan Omar is the only one born outside the U.S. I've been going Wikipedia.
But like all of them are also will get like or at least not be like defended by like their party, because like they are against Israel too. Cory Bush was on like the House of Representatives floor defending Palestine, because like when she was in the protests in Ferguson after the Ferguson uprising, after Michael Brown was assassinated by Derek Wilson, it was Palestinians that were also out there in the streets with the other people of color in Ferguson, and they're protesting because they know the Palestinians know oppressions too. So Cory Bush standing up for her Palestinian activist brethren's solidarity, just showing solidarity, was like speaking out for Palestine. And yeah, I don't think that like the rest of the party, at least they not like imagine some of the party of the Democratic Party would like at least secretly say not nice things about the squad for defending Palestine and being against Israel, though. But I wonder how public they would be with that. Now, right wing,
they're very open about calling them anti-Semitic.
How things are done in the party, like their tactics and fundraising and issues that they stuff like that. So it's like, how dare you kind of you just got here kind of thing.
Rock the boat.
Yeah. It doesn't help that they're all people of color probably as well. That a lot of the Democratic leadership is white, the vast majority, and male, but not all of them. But I know Nancy Pelosi's like the Speaker of the House and all that, but like I think the majority of the leadership is still male, probably.
Chuck Schumer.
He's just some majority leader, and I know
the squad are also about 20 years younger than the average.
Yeah, it's a generational thing too.
It is.
And 2 generations in the case of probably Nancy Pelosi and AOC, but anyway,
it probably is.
You can also make the point with people like Nancy Pelosi and such that. The thing where yes, we have representation, we have representatives who are women, but oftentimes some of those representatives who are women will reinforce patriarchal ideas.
Yeah, they're more dedicated to their class interests than to anything else.
Yeah, exactly. And the squad at least does challenge the class privileges of like the Democratic leadership has as well. As well as the Thuglicans too, which is why they get the attacks all the time, as well as like everything else. That's a interesting note to and on. Well, we're approaching like
it's been 3 hours. Yeah,
I think we have like a good show, like a good discussion, and everything like that.
It was unplanned and very rambly, but I think it came out pretty good.
I never planned these things. I know like John Brockenberry plans these things as well.
I put minimal effort into preparing for these. Sometimes it's fishy-fashy.
I'll try to find some topics for next time. I'll come with some things.
Oh, no problem.
I don't know if it'll fit with our aesthetic though, because anyway.
What aesthetic? What aesthetic do we have? We're just a bunch of like anarchists.
We're anarchists. The aesthetic is you do what you want. And nobody can stop you. Ever. It's complete chaos. It's criminality. It's murder.
I pay a lot of attention to geopolitics.
I happen to be wearing anarchist leggings, though. So
those are nice.
Snazzy.
Yeah.
Yes. So maybe I am wearing.
All I can see is red and black. Looks kind of like fire.
It's the anarchist symbol.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, now I see.
Yeah. But anyway, so let's just go like do the self-promotion sort of thing. So of course our friend Tavi the Wolfus, who is a cutie but doesn't likes to deny it sometimes until she just get told that she's a cutie all times.
And judging by the way her avatar is moving here, she likes to dance all the time.
It's a steaming thing. It's swaying back and forth. It's work. Yeah. So there's like Tavi Wolf's like a Twitch channel. Do give her a follow. Check it out, as it were.
Quick question though: are you related to Fenrir with the Valknot?
Yeah. Yes. Kind of. Yeah. Fenrir's hecking awesome. Fenrir also says we should abolish prisons.
And destroy the power structure. He totally wants to devour the sun and destroy the Aesir.
Well, more importantly, Odin said it was okay for him to be tied up and left alone and isolated for doing fuck all nothing.
For existing.
Yeah, for existing and not being like the Aesir. So that's why it's like I think of Fenrir and I think, yeah, Fenrir says we should fucking abolish the police and abolish prisons. And if that requires eating a few gods
and the sun.
No. Fenrir wasn't the one that wants to eat the sun. That's another wolf. Okay. I have to look at the name of him. And I have my own headcanon about those wolves, but that's a whole other. Yeah. So yeah. Don't get me going. You get me going on anarchist heathenry and like modern ideas and interpretations, and I will go off.
And there was kind of a shout out to Fenrir in the latest episode of Loki.
Oh, okay.
Very subtle in that the alligator Loki bit off another Loki's hand.
And watch that stuff too, and then cancel it probably after I'm done.
I probably really should actually get Disney Plus because I already got Hulu Plus with like commercials. Without commercials, so there's just like a couple of dollars more for Disney Plus and getting the whole package as well. But anyway, so Taffy Wilson's a Twitch streamer. I also like a Twitch stream on like Summer Geek on Twitch. Summer Geek on Twitter, Summer Geek on YouTube. I should eventually get up more YouTube videos. I'm planning to Twitch later today. Twitch stream later today too. I think I'm probably going to read that normality essay of like the origins of the word normality because like I've been meaning to want to read that. I want to read that as well. Anyone got anything else they want to plug?
Dungeons and Debacles.
Yeah.
D&D podcast. But that's all for me.
Fun.
I need to check that out.
It's a lot of fun, actually. It is a lot of fun to listen to Dungeons and Debacles.
Like, I do play almost every week, at least a couple hours with one group of people, but yeah.
I found a very fun I don't know if it's independent, but it's a small, fairly cheap game on the Switch called Gulf Story. It's got that's a great game. It's very fun.
I liked it so much. I bought a physical copy from Limited Run Games when they had it a couple years ago.
Yeah, I saw a physical copy for a lot of money in.
Yeah, people try like.
In the local used game store, and I'm like,
yeah,
what is this about? I wonder, like, I don't want to pay $60 for it, but let's find out if I can get it digitally.
Yeah, and
$14. Okay,
I think they only charge like $30, usually around $29, like for the cart only.
The copy I saw had like a book and like the whole.
Oh, it must have been the collector's edition. Maybe then they were trying to sell it. Because they'll usually do like just the game and then a collector's edition on top of that to like these companies that do these like limited physical runs of digital games that probably wouldn't have them otherwise. Yeah. So that it might be a collector's edition then. Could be.
Yeah, it's very fun. Like
the marketing copy for this does a weird job of selling it.
Yeah,
Golf Story combines the sheer excitement of golf with a serious story that plays out over 8 different courses. Play the story of a golfer who is forced to give up all that he holds dear for one last shot at accomplishing his dreams.
It's way more fun than I thought it would even be. I just figured I'd try it, but
okay. Well,
yeah, I played it. It's pretty good. Yeah.
So, All right. Thank you everyone for coming and hanging out and watching us and checking us out. So do practice self-care. Take your meds if you haven't. Get something to eat if you haven't. Drink
Don't
some
forget
water.
to hydrate.
Don't forget to hydrate. If you're a person that wears a binder, it's been more than 8 hours, take it off to check yourself. The same if you're a person that tucks as well. Check your body, make sure you're not hurting yourself, and stay awesome, my friends.
And I looked it up, and it's not. You're right. It's not Fenrir. It's the wolf Skull, who will devour the sun, and Hati Hrothvitna's son, who will devour the moon.
Hati is a good friend, but that's a whole other story. I have lots of stories. Like I said, don't get me going on this because I will go off.
All right, be an anarchist wolf, everyone.